Morning, all. Good morning, Roxanne. Thank you for my brooms. Huh. Sweeping time. Daniela Williams, morning. Terrence Swan, morning. Carol Boyce John, morning to you. Wazir, morning. Albita Sampath, morning. Rukman Gangadin, morning. Rukman. Gilan Jackson, morning. Cyril Mayas, morning, sir. Evelyn Clark, morning. Constance. Abigail Hercules, morning. Donna Walcott, morning to you. Doreen Pear, Gerald Pascal Manswell, morning, guys. Rutrude, morning to you. Annette Baird, Denise Bramble, Renwick Roberts, Anna Sisnet, morning. Charm Rich, morning. Holly Legall, morning. See. Ruben Rogers, morning. Jenny, Gay Cupid, James, Arlene Lewis, Marlene Panton, Patricia McKenzie, morning, all of you. See what on Facebook. Nadia Lewis Dixon, morning. Rudolph Barnett, Adriana Alexis, morning. Margaret Thomas, Marva James, morning to you guys. Morning, Diane. Diane Charles, Patsy Edwards, Christopher Coffey. Morning, Laverne Brown. Morning to you. Good morning to His Excellency, President of Pleasantville, Nigel O'Connor, First Lady, Mauricia Kagan. Morning, Alison Boyce. Morning, Alison. Donna Seeley. Morning, Donna. Patsy Edwards. Morning to you. Florence Bazzi. Morning. Morning, Carol. Carol Myers, how is the weather on your side? Jennifer Dorset, morning. Judy Richardson, Claudette Jeffrey. Morning to all of you. Steve John, morning. Steve is listening all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. Excellent. Steve, I hope the folks in Atlanta and stuff know what they had to do. I'm Georgia folks. I hope they understand the assignment in Georgia. They did in 2020, I think again in 2022. So, yeah, Gemma White Isaac, morning. Rosemary Headley, morning, Rosemary. Judy Bowen, morning. Maria Lyons, morning, Maria. Deborah Duranti, morning to you. Lawrence Gibbs, morning to you, sir. Lawrence is joining us from all the way out in New York. See, Dish Robin, morning, Dish. Kester Billy, morning. Shah, morning. Pamela O'Connor. Leon Joseph, morning. Deborah Duranti. Natalie F, morning to you. Linda Supreme, morning. Jillian Timmerman. Listra Sydney. Hyacinth Pavi, morning. Lisa Atwater, morning. Lisa Angie Sherry. Morning to all of you guys. Amaline Harvey, Kurt Shaw, Joy Ragunanan, Marlon Wanza, Cloud, morning. Phyllis Antoine. Greetings to all of you guys. It's 6:39, so let me jump into it. So much to talk about. I think I'm coming down with this flu again. Yeah, so my sinuses just killing me this morning. Milat reports uptick in cadets CSEC performance. 51% of the cadets in the military-led academic training program Milat have earned full certificates in this year's CSEC exams. That's 43 of the 84 cadets who sat the exam this year, Milat is reporting. The organization said in 2023, 31% of the cadets achieved full certification, while in 2022, there was a 39% success rate. So the success rate continues to appreciate from 39% in 22, it went to 31 in 23, and now it's up to 51%. No, it was 31% in 23 here. 2024, we've had 51%, which is excellent. Milat also reports that in mathematics and electronic document preparation management, the cadets showed a 25% improvement. In announcing the results, Milat notes that the young men's performance in English language saw an 86% pass rate, while mathematics improved to 66.3%, And this is why we had across the Caribbean, I think there was 31% or something like that. So 66.3% passed in mathematics. Physical education was the standout subject. Was the standout subject matter area where an exceptional 98.9% pass rate. So those guys in Milat are doing very well when we look at the demographic, the makeup, the where these guys come from and what their a lot of them what their backgrounds are. That they would have been, a lot of them would have been heading down the wrong road, and then somebody would have made an intervention and caused a diversion in course, and they are doing well, showing the potential. And how many more young people like this you have outside here who picking up gun and who taking people ghosts, who engaging in home invasions, robberies and the like, and there is an option for them. Hey, any one of these 43 young men who would have gotten that full certificate could have taken that path. Any one of them, had it not been for some intervention by some family member who said, nah, you went so. See you went so instead of so. So when it is that we say there are options, even if it is that parents say, I try, can't do no more. You have to know when there is still time for you to make that intervention. But even with this good news, you still have the fully dones who can't, they can't help themselves. When I read some of the comments under this post talking about 51%, so what happened to the next 49? When your child bring home the report book and they get 51% in maths, you ask them where the next 49% is. Maybe you should do that. Fully dones. 30% of the people voted. Why didn't ask where the next 70% for local government election? Why didn't ask where the other 70% of the electorate? You can see beating the chest. We win popular vote, but a 30% voter turnout. Rather than encourage these young men, you know what's in their mindset? That is 43 of them that they received. That's 43 of them that the police should have killed. Yeah. That's 43 of them who should have been smoking weed on the corner and looking to pick up a gun. So they vex 43. Well, 84 of them there, 84 cadets. So they vex 84 of them escape. But they want good for the country, Nah, but remember, not to continue to badmouth Lavantil and beat them and see that we need to have continued crime in these areas, right? So we can say PNM constituencies have the most amount of crime and the most amount of poor people is in PNM, and the most dilapidated constituencies is PNM. That's the dotish talk they like to put. Forgetting the fact that the majority of Trinidad and Tobago, some of the richest people, if not the richest in Trinidad and Tobago, live in PNM constituencies. The three Diego Martins, West, Central, and Northeast. That is where the bulk of Trinidad and Tobago's wealth is concentrated. Guyana City, 1% owns 95% of the wealth. So, where they live in? Oropuch? Siparia? Where they live in Tabakit? I just ask it. Faizabad? No? But anyway. So kudos to these young men. And kudos, of course, to the instructors at Milat. And kudos also goes out, congratulations to the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service, under whom this program falls. And, continued congratulations to Minister Foster Cummings, because he has also indicated recently that they intend to create the female version. So right now it's just strictly for men or for young men, but now they're putting in place a facility for young women who, with all the school fighting that we see some of these young girls engaging in and stuff, it's time for them to put some of that aggression into their schoolwork, right? Because at the end of the day, when these young men graduate, a lot of them looking to get into the service, various services, whether it's the army, whether it's the Coast Guard, the police, fire, whichever one. But they are now in a better position. And maybe when they do that and then they go out there, they could go back to their neighborhoods where they came from and serve as role models to other young people who may be heading down the wrong path. and let them know, hey, it have a different way. You don't need to go down that way. Yeah. So if your parents don't want to take interest in you, come, let me show you what I did, how I escaped it, and yeah, I could talk to Sue or I could talk to whoever if you want to get inside, and we could link it. So these young men could serve as role models and do a better job than some of the parents out there who are throwing themselves up and abandon the children and saying, you know, it's only a matter of time before the police pick them up. Well, let Milat pick them up now. Let my part pick them up first now before the police bullet pick them up. There are options. When I tell you the government and the government, everything is the government. Instead of preparing for graduation, you sit down and preparing for a call, saying your son get gunned down either by the police or a rival gang member. Yeah, so you're preparing for funeral instead of a graduation. Not making sense. But we know the fully dance on the other side. That's what they like. Anyway, it's also noteworthy. Remember, this is the same program that a certain UNC Senator, Jayanti Lakshmi, remember when she said a few months ago she wasn't in support of this program. She said, in fact, these types of programs only cause these young men to come out worse because of the kind of rigid discipline and these programs offer. That these young men, when they think they come out hardened. Yeah. She criticized the PNM for this program. What is the UNC alternative life sport? Well, come and sign, bring your ID card, come and sign, so you could collect a stipend at the end of the month. You don't learn nothing. What was the mathematics pass rate for life sport? What was the English language pass rate for life sport? Oops, there was no pass rate because there were no classes. But 34 million pass, no maths, no English, no pass rate. Gianti, no problem with that. Yes, life sport is its Milat, my part. No, we're not in support of that. But put them back. They have the youth's interest at heart. Yes. Okay. Morning to Gianti Lakshmi. Yeah. Pretty sure she didn't post this up on her Facebook page, but I can't see it because, as I say, she blocked me. But that's all right. Maybe Jenny or Eric or one of them who she probably hasn't blocked yet could check it and see what she posted. So, Rudal Munila, once again in the news, and not for the right reasons. I'll go directly to his Facebook page. So they had a waste of time Sunday morning press conference. Just now, hold 1 second. My acting Prime Minister just sent a WhatsApp message. I must see when he put his in there. Okay, nice. Right. Was it? All right. Yeah. I was distracted there. But as I mentioned, my acting Prime Minister, before I go to Rudal Munila. So I see there seems to be a still among the fully dance and wider society over the second acting appointment of Stuart Young as Prime Minister. And so Trinidad and Tobago's most prolific and sleaziest tabloid, Trinidad Express, decided to put out a question yesterday asking persons if it is that they think Stuart Young would make a good Prime Minister. Right? So they're setting up the narrative out there is that Dr. Rowley has given Stuart Young these acting appointments to sort of test the waters to see, in the first instance, if the PNM faithful could embrace Stuart Young as Dr. Rowley's successor. Yeah? And, the fully dance on them jumping in and because they're telling themselves, well, if Stuart Young become the replacement or the new leader for the PNM, I could cause problems for us. The only time they're saying Rowley must go. Rowley must go. We don't like Rowley. Rowley wicked. Rowley evil. Rowley don't care about the poor. Rowley this and Rowley that. Well, they want Rowley to go. Well, if it is in fact that Dr. Rowley is presenting Stuart Young as a potential successor, you all should be glad because that means Dr. Rowley go in. But they vex. What is the issue? So they jump on Stuart Young's case, and the only thing they could come up with is to talk about Stuart Young's ex-stepdaughter. And they want to know what's going on with that case and and Stuart Young needs to tell the population of what is her whereabouts and why the case is taking so long and why she's taking so long to come to court and all of that. You feel every time if the young lady makes her appearance in court, which is virtual most times now, it's no longer face-to-face. If it is very rare, thanks to this administration, so no longer millions being spent to transport prisoners from the prison to the court. Or you have a court matter, you could sit down in the privacy of your home or your lawyer's office, and you sit in front of a tablet, the judge comes on the screen, and you have your thing. You think the media will report every time? They're asking what went on with David Lee and why his case taking so long to call. They're asking that to know. They're asking why is Prison Gate investigation still ongoing? Why is it taking so long after 10 years to bring a charge or for some sort of conclusion in that matter where two prominent UNC attorneys are accused of cutting and pasting witness statements to defraud the state? They're asking that? No. But they jump on Stuart Young case because it's right. And then the other thing is Stuart Young brother. And Stuart Young brother bank and how much money they getting from the state and how much loans the government taking from Stuart Young brother company. That is not Stuart Young brother's company. The man is a senior executive there, but that's about it. That is the only two things they could come with it, the only mud they could find to sting at Stuart Young. So they vex. There are plenty we can say about their leader, who clearly plans to leave office in a coffin. Right? Unlike Dr. Rowley. But if that is in fact the case, it hurting them because this narrative that they always pushing that the PNM is PNM supporters vote on race as a black man party, and the only reason why is because Rowley is African and all that stupidness. Who say that could never happen, PNM this and that. And the PNM is not the UNC. They need to understand that. So they will come with a stupid talk about Rowley doesn't put the African and them to act as prime minister when he leave any country. Look who he put in boot, the 1%. And he put in Stuart Young. PNM has structure. Stuart Young is the chairman of the party. All right? At one point in time, Mbut was also the chairman of the party. But when we look, as I said before, in terms of tenure, all of the members of the lower house on the government side, after Dr. Rowley, who has the most amount of tenure in terms of the most number of years, consecutive years as a parliamentarian, was called Mbut. Right? Mr. Mbut has been there since the 90s, just like Dr. Rowley. So, of course, he's the most senior. And now, Dr. Rowley has seen potential in Stuart Young, and he gave him acting appointment as the chairman of the party. But it hurts him the fully dance by the Stuarty case, but he can handle his story. So, I'm frightened for him. But at the end of the day, when that time comes, it is the PNM faithful, those of us who keep faith with the party, and those of us who pay our membership dues as well, religiously, every year. Certainly the chairman of my party group does stick. As soon as time come around, again I calling you, sir, to remind you that your dues, your membership dues, it's that time. Yes, sir. When am I seeing you? If I make the mistake to give him a date, bet your bottom dollar. Calling me that day, no? Just calling to remind you, calling me the day before. To remind you, we have a meeting tomorrow. Yes. Call me in the morning, just calling to remind you, what time am I seeing you today? If I can't see me, I give him another date. He's like, all right. I'm taking note of that. No escape. If I can't go to him, he will come to me with his receipt book in tow, ready to collect. So when they want to know how Bali is a house building, tell them that. We pay our membership dues. Yeah? We understand the contribution it makes to the development of the party. That is why we have a home, and I've had a home for many, many years. And the main opposition considers themselves to be the alternative government, still homeless, knocking from pillar to post like the littlest hobo. There's only a matter of time before their current headquarters, they move from there to somewhere else because they owe rent. We don't have that problem. So I just thought I'd mention that, right? So all of them who want to watch in and if Stuart Young and whatnot, we may yet surprise you. Right. So let me jump on Mr. Milat. You call him no doctor today. He's Mr. And if he mash my corn, it's just Milat. Let's see if I get him here. This bacchanalist. No, I'm gonna get him here. Look at him. Shameless liar. Yeah, me wanna hear you. Use me. So. Did they have Monday Night Forum last night? I checked and I didn't see it. I looked on the Facebook pages of several of these folks because normally they would put up the advertisement. Didn't see it. So I don't think they had one because yesterday was Parliament. Coming to what happened in Parliament yesterday just now. Right? And everybody normally when they have Parliament, and depending on how late it runs, they wouldn't have Monday Night Forum. But I raised that issue because yesterday, Dr. Oli, as we know, is out of the country looking after his health. And so he wasn't present, and neither was the leader of the opposition. And I saw an article where the newspaper would have quoted that. And they indicated that when they attempted, they tried to contact Mrs. Prasad Visas, and they were informed that she was absent from Parliament yesterday because she was preparing for the Monday night meeting. So unless she had a private Monday night meeting, I don't know which Monday night meeting she was preparing for. But anyway, and as I mentioned that, I saw in the Parliament yesterday, back coming to Milat, that they finally made good on the seating arrangements, the changes. So Rodney Duppy is no longer sitting next to Mrs. Prasad Visesa, as she had indicated a couple of months ago. That seating need to change. She's disappointed. And true to form, they pelt him down to the end of the front row. So the 5 dissidents, they put them to sit down together. Since all they want to be together, no problem. Take them 5 seats there. Right? That's all here. They send them to Siberia. Separate them from the rest, the goat from the sheep. All of them is goat. No sheep there. Right? All of them. So it's the sheep, the goat with horn and them that don't have. So they put the 5 of them down to the end. So there's Anita, Rambali, Duppy, Ragbeer, and Parry. Oh, Mr. Chance is telling me they had the meeting last night. I didn't see it. I need to go back and check. I noticed, I checked several of their Facebook pages and I didn't see any advertisement for it, and they normally advertise. So if that isn't, Mr. Chance says that they had a meeting, so I'll go on their YouTube page and listen to what they said, what she said last night. I'm sure what she said and nothing is the same. So they've been ostracized, right? So the faithful up on this side, and the dissidents, so they go down on that side there. We don't want nothing to do with all here. You can't even maintain unity in your own party. You're distancing yourself from members of your own party. And not just, these are not ordinary members, these are parliamentarians. You want nothing to do with them. No association, right? You've separated them for all and sundry to see. But meanwhile, you're fighting up to form alliance, and you want to unite with people outside of the party. How that working? If you cannot even unite with people inside your party, if you can't forgive and forget, if simple disagreements in the party can cause that kind of rift, how the hell are you going to get along with people who are not UNC? You want to form alliance with OWTU. You want to form alliance with, you're calling for all these small parties to come. We don't know what's going on with them and NTA, right? Gary holding on for their life, which is uncharacteristic of him. Because after Prasad Visesa basically declared him as a failure as a commissioner of police, right? She said, all the commissioners of police and all the ministers of national security over the last 9 years have been failures. But she zeroed in on Griffiths too, to give us statistics with respect to murders and other crimes during Griffith's term specifically, which was from 2018 to 2021. But between 2015 September to August of 2018, she made no reference of the crime statistics during that period. And after 2021 to 2024, she made no reference to those statistics either, but put a big circle around 2018 to 2021, which was Gary Griffith's tenure. So she's sending you a message, she's telling you a blasted failure. And yet still you're there like a little loopy dog outside, scraping on the door and hoping she opened the door and throw out a bone or something for you. This is uncharacteristic of this man who is absorbed in his ego. Going on with you. But you realize that the NTA in and of itself can win nothing. Y'all are just spoilers. That's all. You will just pull some votes on the UNC, not from the PNM, from the UNC. Right? And then you don't want to get blamed when they lose. For them to say, it's because of Gary Griffith. We should have won in St. Joseph, but Gary Griffith pulled votes from the UNC in St. Joseph, or we should have won this seat, but Gary Griffith pulled votes. So he didn't want to take that blame, right? Because, you know, the UNC still love him and kill him dead. Or kill them dead, he was the best thing since sliced bread as a commissioner, right? So he don't want that blame. So even with all the embarrassment, with all the things that they're saying about him, he's still there, hoping for an alliance. Because by themselves, they could do nothing. Pep can't win nothing unless they are part of an alliance. Gary can't win nothing. You'll get a few votes, but that's about it. Not enough to win any seats. And you know, if that happens, come 2025, that's the end of the NTA. Just fall by the wayside. And now what you have, Michaela Pandey, who seems to be trying to make inroads. Yeah, she out there, more so than she's ever been. But focusing right now on PNM constituencies, not so much the UNC constituencies. Right? So she's trying to play spoiler as well. And so she put out a post yesterday begging for persons to come and offer themselves to be candidates for the Patriotic Front. If anybody knows how an election goes, right? Make sure you have money. Make sure you have money to fight an election. Especially when you are going to offer yourselves for fledgling parties like the Patriotic Front, the NTA, the PEP. NTA might be able to give you a little something. The rest of them, So if you don't have the pockets to pelt out money to buy jerseys and to buy hat and other paraphernalia, because as a candidate, when you're walking around, I can tell you from experience, the first question people ask you, where the jersey? Where the hat? I want a jersey. That's the first thing. Before you say anything, make sure you have somebody looking like Santa Claus with a big black bag of jerseys on the back, right? In two. So as soon as they reach, I want a jersey. Yeah, it have 5 people. I can get 2 more. It have 5 people living in this house. I want 5. Give me one for my neighbor now. Otherwise, they don't want to hear you. So make sure you have money for that. And them jerseys ain't cheap. I can tell you that. And other things. Anything you have on offer. And then once they get that, yeah, so what you going to do for we? Prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. Don't ask me to tell you what I come to do for you. I need to hear what you need, right? Because that's like you go to a doctor, and the doctor just hand you a prescription. You walk in the door, he ain't check you out nothing, and he hand you a prescription and say, yeah, take that. But doctor, he ask me what nothing. He ask me what's my ailments, nothing, what's the symptoms. Now I don't need to ask you that. You just take that and pay $300 when you go outside. That can work. Thank you so much, Eric. No, it wasn't televised. Normally there's a bit on IETV. Maybe I was just late because I had board meeting last night. The time I got home, I was out of it anyway. We probably finished. So, Milat. MP queries why $3.7 million box drain contract rose to $4.8 million, tongue-in-cheek. Oroput East MP, Dr. Rudal Munilal, has raised concerns over government's award of a contract initially worth $3.7 million, but which rose to $4.8 million to a company to construct retaining walls and box drains for a housing project in South Trinidad. At the UNC's weekly Sunday press conference, he demanded accountability, they love to demand, and transparency while criticizing what he called the lack of proper procurement. Okay, nice. Someone is telling me the meeting was basic. Didn't really have nothing to talk about. Thank you, sir. I will definitely check that out then. I'm being told Jillian was struggling to refer to Kamala as the next prime minister. Wonder why, boy? Is it that she too has grown weary of Prasad Bisesa? And the weight, it's like in those, anyway. Prasad Bisesa has now become like a millstone around the UNC's neck. It's just to go and throw them off the creek. She just dragged them down, and that's the end of that. At the UNC's weekly Sunday press briefing, he demanded accountability and transparency while criticizing what he called the lack of proper procurement in this particular matter. He claimed contracts have been awarded under very suspicious circumstances. He said the contract was signed by an official in the HDC and then showed what he claimed was a check dated April 17 for $4.8 million. How did $3.7 million reach to $4.8 million? What is that? Interest, transaction costs? It is a government check. Why did they receive this check for? Or what did they receive this check for, Munilal asked. Munilal claimed the company was awarded the contract. That was awarded the contract is based in his constituency. He then asked agency managing director Giselle McFarlane to shed light on the matter, asking if the project for which the contract was signed was ever started or completed. He also credited the opposition for raising concerns over quarry operations in East Trinidad, which caused workers to abandon the job. Munilal said it was the UNC that also called out the company's directors responsible for the quarrying operations. Suppose he's talking about Mr. Alan Warner. He said illegal quarrying might have continued had UNC not bust the mark. How many of your financiers engaged in illegal quarrying? Between 2010 to 2015, it had none of that, right? Idiot. The opposition MP alleged that a few key people from that quarrying company were part of another company which got the contract from the government for the building of the box drains and retaining walls. He also claimed that representatives from the company had held seminars involving government members in Port of Spain on infrastructural issues. Munilal threw jabs at the government, saying they tried to build a highway as part of the San Fernando waterfront project. Munilal referred to one side of the road as a duck pond. We only want to know what Naked said. If hypocrisy was a person, it would be Rudal Munilal. So he's questioning how a contract went from 3.7 million to 4.8 million. And he wants to know what if that is transaction cost interest. I think two Kamala's energy levels were low last night. Sobriety is not her friend, apparently. Oh Lord, somebody need to pay a visit to Angostura. Anyway, so Munilal, right, is questioning how a contract went from 3.7 million to 4.8, which is a difference of 1.1 million. I want to ask him, did you question how a valuation, Mr. Munilal, when you were Minister of Housing, how a valuation went from 52 million to 200 million in Eden Gardens? That is not a 1.1 million difference, right? From 52 to 200 million, and then with negotiations, it came down to 175 million. Did you question that? That jump? But that was transaction costs? That was interest? Tell us now. We would love to know. When Livesport went from 6 million to 400 million, did you question that jump, Mr. Munilal? Munilal? That's a big difference, you know. Did you question that from 6 to 400 million, sir? You were in the cabinet at the time. Did you question that? You weren't concerned about that jump? No, but you're concerned about this jump and what's going on. You're so concerned with what is happening in HDC. Well, almost 1 year ago, the current Minister of Housing, your successor, raised an issue during the budget debate that came about as a result of an audit by external auditors, Mr. Munilal, in which $800 million in housing cannot be found. We can't find the 800 million, and we can't find the 800 million worth of houses that were supposed to be built under your stewardship as Minister of Housing. To date, you have not spoken to that issue. Almost a year later, you have not proffered an excuse, an explanation. You have been very dismissive of the population of Trinidad and Tobago with respect to that matter. We are still awaiting some sort of explanation from yourself, from your Prime Minister at the time, or from the head of the HDC at the time, Jolene John. All three of you have been uncharacteristically quiet in that matter. Because normally when issues are raised and his name get called up, if he's in the house, he's quick to jump up and rail up himself. He behaves like a raging bull. He gets very, very angry and starts throwing insults across the aisle. So much so till somebody had to call up on the speaker to discipline him and call on him to retract or withdraw and apologize. But when that matter was raised by the current Minister of Housing, he said nothing. He was quiet. He didn't even call a press conference after to, denounce what was said or to debunk what was said. No. To date, he has said nothing on that. $800 million of housing can't be found. But he's concerned about a difference in a contract of 1.1 million, which I believe the HDC has indicated is not true. Right? But I'm not surprised, because Milat has over the years shown himself to be, was a damn blasted liar, an inveterate one at that. Let us not forget, when he came to the Parliament, making claims about Dr. Rowley A.V. Drilling matter, and Dr. Rowley have joint bank account in Miami with the owner of A.V. Drilling, and a $500,000 US wire transfer. When he came with that was thoroughly investigated while Gary Griffith was Commissioner of Police, and Mr. Griffith would have called a press conference and indicated that after thorough investigation, both locally and abroad, in fact, he mentioned that when his officers went abroad, in furtherance of that investigation, that the foreign police laughed at his officers. Are they for real? Nah, man. You're really investigating this? Come on, man. Be serious. He said that. His officers, they laughed at them. What foolishness are they coming to waste our time with? The police in Trinidad is waste time on them things. So are they really come to waste time with this? So they get what they needed. But he said he went to Miami and he did his investigations and he got evidence. Come back. The police, I would imagine the police would have met with him to review this evidence that he said he gathered when he went to Miami. Because voila, you make a claim, and you said it in the full care of the public that you went to Miami and you do investigation and you get evidence. The police would have looked at that. They would have interrogated it and found it to be rubbish. Just as most of what comes out of Munilal's mouth, garbage. Gary Griffith dismissed that. When that was announced, Munilal come and he said, well, that investigation Gary Griffith was talking about, that was an investigation into a bank account. But I never said about no bank account. I tell earlier about a $500,000 US transfer, and the investigation is still ongoing, which Mr. Griffith had to come now and to tell Munilal, I'm the Commissioner of Police. I'm saying every matter, every claim, every allegation that has been raised with respect to Adrian, Keith Rowley, and any bank account and wire transfer has been investigated, and all has been found to be rubbish, garbage. So unless you have a parallel police service that doing their own investigation, I am telling you, there is no investigation whatsoever. No investigation, any further investigation into any bank account, into any wire transfer, or any of the other allegations, baseless allegations that you have made with respect to that matter. After he made the revelation in the Parliament, because remember he made it a habit, every year during the debate, he come into Bossamark. Instead of coming to debate the substance of the budget, to enlighten people about the budget and the issues you have with what was read by the minister, you come into Bossamark about things that has nothing to do with the budget. And everyone, he come in to drop a bombshell, and it turned out to be nothing more than a firecracker. I wouldn't even say a scratch bomb. Them little firecracker hit on the ground. They're packs. That's what he's come with. Nothing of substance. So that was shown to be a lie. Then you all remember the same A.V. Drilling matter. The next day he come holding up a picture. He said, I am asking, was this picture taken in an office in a house in Penal belonging to A.V. Drilling? Right? That was the allegation that he made. And in the picture, there was OWTU President General Ansel Roger, couple other persons, and a gentleman with who was the head of a company, the first company that Patriotic Energies was looking to get funding to purchase the refinery. Right? And Munilal gave the picture to the media. The news, they post up the picture big and bold the next day on the front page. And so Roger called a press conference, call the media, well, come, let me carry you in the office. The office was in Paramount Building, OWTU headquarters. And Roger hold up the newspaper. He said, right, you see this filing cabinet there? Look at it. You see this couch? Look at it. You see the desk? Look at it. Where are you now, the meeting? No. You're in my office, Paramount Building, Marabella. And Roger went on to say, but Munilal is supposed to know this office because he has been in this office many a time. Damn blasted liar. Then he had, again, with the same A.V. Drilling matter, he called a press conference, told the nation, the UNC is in possession of information with respect to this A.V. Drilling matter that will bring down 4 governments. Not one, 4 governments. Last I checked, Trinidad and Tobago only had 1 government. So the other 3 he was talking about was 3 other countries. He said this thing, big. Information we have, it will bring down 4. That was 2017. 2020, you couldn't even bring down one. But you have information that can bring down four. Where do you do that? Did you give it to the police? You provided it to Interpol, the FBI, the CIA? That is big thing. Whatever happened to that information, Munilal? Didn't exist. Or the only place it existed was in your head, as is most of what you see and most of the claims that you make. Let's see here. Calling budget from Ebo to come Columbus budget to fool the people. Kamla. Right? So this man, as I said, but to make matters worse, let me show you all how hypocritical this man is. Let me get it. Where is it? Ego is a hell of a thing, or as Darian would say, hubris. So, let me get it. So he called up names. So let me get it. Right. So he puts out a gentleman. One of the names that he mentioned was Karen Rose. And he claimed Karen Rose owned this company called Rose Capital Investments Limited. But he didn't just call her name. He went on to put up a picture of the person who he says owns this company that got this $4.7 million contract. It turns out the owner of that company is someone by the name of James Rose. And his middle name is Karen, so it's James Karen Rose. And then you have Karen Rose. James spells his Karen with 2 R's. Karen Rose spells his Karen with 1 R. So when it was brought to Karen's attention that Rudal Munilal was making these claims, and further to that, he didn't just call her name. He put up a picture, right? He went and dig up wherever it is on social media to get a picture to post up, because you know that's what they love to do, to tarnish people's names. This is why it's so difficult to get good and qualified people to step forward to serve, right? Because they know that there's a wasteful opposition waiting in the wings to come and tarnish your name and your family name and all kind of nastiness, right? To dig up. So they went and in the company registry to look for the annual returns to see who is the directors and who is the owners and the beneficial owners and all of these things. If only they used to do that with some of the businesses owned by their financiers, that would be great. Maybe if they had done that with Point Lisa Park Limited, so they could tell us who were the directors of that company to whom they paid $175 million of your taxpayers' dollars to purchase a piece of land that was valued at $52 million. They ever went to the company registry to do that, to tell us who the directors were, who the beneficial owners were? He wasn't interested in that. So he puts out a clarification because Mr. Rose, right, has called him out. War of the Roses, this is Munilal. At today's press conference, I asked several questions concerning serious allegations of mismanagement and improper corporate practices by the HDC. A name found on the company documents for Rose Capital Investments Limited was James Rose, who is also known as James Karen Rose. Questions were asked as to whether this was Karen Rose. Now, here it is. He put the correct spelling for Karen under James Karen Rose. And then he says questions were asked whether this was Karen Rose, and you put the Karen with 1 R, and under James, you put the Karen with 2 R's. The latter has gone to social media to indicate that it's not him, Karen Rose, and disassociated himself from Rose Capital Investments Limited. As such, I wish to clarify that I referred at all times to James Rose, also known as James Karen Rose. If there are 2 Karen Roses, as it appears, it is not my intention to drag the wrong Rose into question. But you put up the man picture, Munilal. You did not do your proper research. But you so wanted to call Couture and Bacchanal. If you know you have nothing to talk about on a Sunday morning press conference, call around and see who has something that you think might be worthy. Or say we're taking a break this Sunday morning, right? Because we could do without the half a question, which is probably the most. At best, you might get 1.5 on a good day. And if they get that, it's because they bring one of their lackeys and give them a question and say, ask that. Because we know the media really don't ask no questions. They just come there because we call them and they're ready to leave. As soon as they don't want to prolong the agony of this waste of 45 minutes of their time. Right? The issues raised, however, relating to Rose Capital are valid concerns and must be explained by the HDC. Just as you must explain that 800 million in missing houses. 800 million is nothing to sneeze at. It's not 8 million, it's not 80. It's 800 million. It's close to $1 billion of houses cannot be found. Madness. But the tabloid Express wouldn't talk about that. No, they wouldn't go and dig up in that and do their research. I'm still waiting almost a year later. You would think that Mark Bassant by now might have been anyway. Any resemblance between the Roses by name or appearance is regrettable and unintentional as far as essential issues raised are concerned, Dr. Rudal Munilal. So he hasn't even proffered an apology. He says any resemblance between the Roses by name or appearance is regrettable. Well, I can tell you, there is no resemblance by appearance between Karen Rose and James Rose. Karen Rose is a red man. James Rose is a dark man. So if you can't differentiate between the two of them, something wrong with you. You need to go and get your eyes checked. It's cataract, glaucoma, and probably, I don't know, early onset of blindness. That you went and dig up, and probably you couldn't get a picture of James Rose. So you come and you get that picture because this guy does consultancy. In fact, there was an article I had intended to read from this Karen Rose entitled Why I'm Leaving Trinidad. He's migrating to Thailand, and he was highlighting what he considers to be some shortcomings in Trinidad and Tobago for persons in technology and the like and so on. And I'll probably read that on another day because there are some things that I take issue with to what he said. But apparently this guy, based on the work that he does, his services would have been retained by the PNM at some point in time, based on what Munilal is saying here, to do some sort of conference for the hierarchy of the PNM. So he just sort of linked the two, causing bacchanal. And so Karen Rose has called on him to apologize, to retract, but he seems that he wants to double down. Because had he done proper work, you see, they always know how to do research and what the UNC does do in-depth research and so on. He would know who James Rose is and what James Rose's background is. It's very colorful, right? Should do some investigations into his background in the insurance industry. It makes a very interesting reading, but I will say no more on that. Right? I say no more on that. But he has doubled down. He has not offered an apology. After you mention the name, fine. If you see him make a mistake with the names, no problem. But you put up the man picture. This is somebody who has a thriving business. This is somebody whose talent and whose services have been retained by various companies to talk to staff and so on about different things. And now the man is preparing to make a move to Thailand to offer his services there and to grow his business. And you come and put up the man picture and you get called out on it and then have the audacity to say any resemblance between the Roses by name or appearance is regrettable and unintentional as far as essential issues raised are concerned. That can't fly. That cannot fly. Under any circumstance. That's why you should sue your backside. Take everything you have. I'm sure he probably will. But this did not escape Dr. Rowley, who took time out while he's abroad, looking after his health, to comment on the issue, which I will now read for you. Dr. Rowley said yesterday, Munilal builds his career on trying to equate other people with himself, and he seems to like $4 million lies. It is the same thing he did to me when he and Kamala were building and promoting their fake oil election campaign against me and Nazim Basha baby drilling. The press lapped it up and never asked any pertinent questions to unravel the foolishness. He likes to bolster his slander with offerings of research. Yeah. Well, you can take what I say as gospel because I went and I did research and investigations. He told the parliament he told the parliament then that he did the research and followed the findings to a bank in Florida and located $4 million that AV gave to me. This was a most disgraceful and damaging lie placed under parliamentary privilege. I had no recourse except to express my denial and disgust because, of course, he said it in the parliament and therefore under parliamentary privilege, Dr. Rowley couldn't sue him. Eventually, the press raised it with him when his research did not add up. He confirmed his slander to the media outside of Parliament. I promptly sued the wicked, lying wretch. They said, Dr. Rowley, they're going to jam him for his language. But I agree with you, Doc. Right? He said, I promptly sued the wicked, lying wretch. The matter is proceeding through the courts. He is busy there pleading public interest and free speech. Those are the UNC's understanding and practice of organized wrongdoing in the hope of deliberately damaging people's reputation. They do it consistently, especially Milat, Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar, and Wayne Mark. And I would add to that Anil Roberts. In this case, instead of encouraging these young people to do these things, he jumps in to destroy reputations with lies. Right, sorry, let me read that again. In this case, instead of encouraging these young people to do good things, he jumps in to destroy reputations with lies. I trust that he will be made to acknowledge his lies and his disgusting political style. Dr. Keith Rowley, we get this in.
The name on the company documents for Rose Investment ties into one of the names you are seeing there, Mr. Rose, who have been holding seminars at Balize House with one Hansel Bacchus. He's the Minister of Digital Transformation, that nobody know what happened in digital and nobody know what was transformed. He's the Minister. He went to India about 3 times and nothing came out of it. So, and they are holding their meetings in Balize House. Is Balize House now the headquarters of Rose Capital Investment? Trillions that are all over infesting like a bacteria infestation in the public service, doing contracts or purporting to get contracts for work and collecting millions of dollars. That is the issue we raise. And this is an issue worthy of the time. Did you know that?
They didn't only show the guy's name, the guy's picture once, twice, several times during the course of Munila's contribution. They put up the flyer and focusing on the guy's face. That is not the same person. But they thought they had an aha moment, and it turned out to be a oops, oh moment. How many times will we get oh moments from them? That's all they're about. Oops. I made a boo-boo. Well, I hope you're made to pay for that boo-boo. Yeah? Your mouth writing checks that your bank account can't cash. Go ahead. See if that gratuity you're looking forward to at the end of this term will end up in somebody in legal fees and in somebody else's bank account for your slander. Dr. Rowley said, lying wretch. Anyway, he'll had an ante up and pay cost to Dr. Rowley, but I hear the fully done talking about the case he lost, the lawsuit he brought against Dr. Rowley that he lost last week. Oh, he's going to appeal. Well, let him appeal now. Just let him know the higher he appeals is the more money he had to pay. Right? So if you want to continue to incur costs, no problem. Doc is in it for the long haul. And he had court closed. Right? So bring it on. Take it to the Privy Council. You see Natasha watching the bank account. Don't play with that gratuity, you know, Rudy. Behave yourself. Because you know if you end up a minister, it's problems. So fingers crossed, and they hoping, hopefully we win. Don't worry, now, girl, we got win and we got thief. Don't worry, even if Rowley beat me in the court, we got thief. The thief money will pay for that. Sure. Speaking of court, so let us turn to Parliament yesterday. So parliamentary sittings have resumed. There was something I want someone. Anyway. All right, before I get there, what's the time? It's 7:29. Let me see how quickly I could do this. There was something I wanted to play. No, I can't go through today without touching on my favorite topic, Trinidad and Tobago's gas prospects, right? But you know, the Foley Duns, led by Anil Roberts, David Nakit, Persad-Bissessar, David Lee, and others, have consistently criticized Dr. Rowley and Stuart Young for their efforts at renegotiating the gas price with the multinationals and so on who operate here, right? Who are monetizing our natural gas and what they were paying us was unacceptable to Dr. Hawley, as he said, as he told them when he went to the UK, when he went to Australia and whatever, and met with the capo de tutti capi, right? The boss of bosses for these companies. And he sat around the table. He said, very good, let's get down to business. Let me tell you something. You all have your shareholders and I have mine, right? Your shareholders are the people who have invested in your company and my shareholders are the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And what obtained under that last administration doesn't fly with me. Okay? So you see the sweetheart deals that they give all and the concessions. What we can renegotiate, we will. And what we can't, you all will pay for. Understand? Right? Because we need money in Trinidad. Yes, as you all need money to fatten your shareholders' pockets, I need money to take care of my shareholders' needs. Right? And therefore, we need to talk. So, what are we doing? The prices that you all paying? You see that transfer pricing thing where you all purchasing my gas for one price and then you're going and selling it on the international market in Asia and so on for 4 and 5 times what you're paying me? That can't work. We need to get a bigger stake out of that. And you see the money, some of the monies that we have lost from the sweetheart concessions that those clowns who preceded us gave you, right? To encourage you to come and drill and look for oil and look for gas, so in-border oil and in-border gas, that's all well and good enough. But we are not prepared to wait 10 years, to go 10 years without royalties and taxes in certain instances. That doesn't bode well for us because my country has developmental needs, right? So what are we doing? The first meeting that he went to, he was able to get something close to $3 billion, right? The company said, okay, Mr. Prime Minister, we hear what you're saying. We understand. All right, no problem. We will look at the figures and so on. Coming out of that, $3 billion. So, but here what? You understand that we too have to account to our shareholders. And we have operations around the world, not just in your country. And while we are willing to compromise with you, if word gets out that we are compromising with you, then we may find ourselves in a situation where other countries in which we operate, where there was similar circumstance as to what your predecessors would have afforded us, then they too may come now to make demands, and that affects our bottom line. So please, we are asking you, while we're making this concession, to let me just keep it under wraps now. You know, it's proprietary. Okay, no problem. Once we get our money, what happened? The UNC, led by Kamala Persad-Bissessar, who were unhappy that Dr. Rowley, within mere months of coming into office, was able to accomplish something that Persad-Bissessar was not able to do, which was to extract in the first instance $3 billion, which eventually grew to $11 billion from these multinational corporations that are exploiting our oil and gas, decided to bring a question to the Parliament, right? To ask Dr. Rowley to disclose the very thing that these companies asked him not to. And of course, he had to do it, and he revealed in the Parliament. And then he came back and told us, I think it was at a PNM public meeting, or perhaps even in the Parliament, that he would have received a letter from one of the principals of one of these international companies expressing their disappointment over the fact that such disclosures were made in a public space, right? Which now puts them in a situation with respect to some of the other countries that they have business with, right? The very thing that they were trying to avoid. Who did that? The very people who consider themselves to be the government in waiting. But they have the country's best interest at heart. But when it is that you have the current administration doing things to get money into the country, no foreign direct investment, no money, and Rowley and then mash up the energy sector and all of that, time will tell. The time has already spoken. But anyway, that is the Patriots. That's the people who are telling you, put us back into office. And again, I will repeat, and every time opportunity presents itself, I will repeat. None of the gas projects or the gas fields that will be coming on stream in 2027 have come about as a result of any negotiations that Kevin Ramnarine did. It is a result of Stuart Young's work over the last 3 years. Shuttle work between Trinidad to Washington to Venezuela and back. Right? And I ask any of them, point to me, any of these. Manatee, dragon, coconut, ginger, coquina mannequin, any one of those, tell me. Any one of those came about as a result of anything that Kevin Ramnarine did? The man who fancies himself to be the best energy minister we ever had? The man who had Kamala Persad-Bissessar's full confidence? Any of those? Okay. Perhaps he can go on, since he loves to post on Facebook, anything he sees negative or any development in Venezuela that he thinks could pour cold water on any of those, the potential or the possibility of any of those gas fields coming online and delivering first gas in 2027. Anything he sees that could point to that and could cause panic, he loves to share. Well, maybe he could please write an article and share it on your page and send it to the media, since you all know how to do press releases, and tell us any gas deal that you negotiated that is going to bear fruit between now and 2027, that you could beat your chest and say, if it wasn't for us, this would not have happened, and that would not have happened. If he could have done that, he would have already done so. David Lee would have done so. They cannot, because there are none, which means that all of those sweetheart concessions that they gave, which could have seen us losing precious revenue, in some cases up until 2027, bore no fruit. So we give away money for nothing. And Stuart Young would have come in after Franklin Khan, who would have done some work as well, but he wasn't around for long enough, right? Who would have done some groundwork as well. And he would have been able to accomplish in 3 years what Kevin Ramnarine could not have done, and what Kamala Prasad couldn't do in 5. But all they studying to do is to bad talk Stuart Young and bad talk Rohit. They went and they think and they get out and they're doing. Right, let's hear what Valmiki Maharaj has to say. Valmiki Arjun, sorry. Let's see what he has to say on that. Let me get it say. Maybe they might say he's a PNM too. Wait, pass him. Silly season.
Despite the fact that natural gas production has dropped below 2 billion cubic feet per day in June, this is the lowest of
So,
that can save his livelihood.
Economist Dr. Valmiki Arjun says the country's energy revenues are higher than pre-pandemic levels.
BPTT is selling for mature gas fields to Perenco. More from Peter Christopher in tonight's Business Watch.
Economist Dr. Valmiki Arjun says revenues from the energy sector have exceeded pre-pandemic levels. He says this is despite the fact that natural gas production has dropped below 2 billion cubic feet per day in June. This is the lowest the production has seen since 2002. However, in a statement, the Ministry of Energy says production levels increased in July and August, and it explains that production was impacted by maintenance activities by 3 major upstream gas producers. However, economist Dr. Arjun says, while lower production levels are not the only cause for the dip, revenues are in fact up.
But also because of lower gas prices on the international market relative to the last fiscal year. However, what is noteworthy is that the energy revenues for the first 3 quarters of this fiscal year are in fact higher than the energy revenues from the immediate pre-pandemic era.
Arjun says data shows the revenues earned for the first 9 months of the year are in fact higher than the revenues for the same period in fiscal 2018 by about $2.4 billion.
This is likely because of the renegotiated higher gas prices that we now receive. And these gas prices are of course a weighted average of the global prices that doesn't just include the conventional Henry Hub, but they also include other prices like the Japan-Korea marker, the Dutch title transfer facility, and the UK national balancing point.
He says these 3 prices tend to be much higher than the Henry Hub price, and therefore the price Trinidad and Tobago would receive for gas would trend upwards. PPTT will be selling 4 mature off.
You know what he said there? Economist Valmiki Arjun. You know what he said? Higher revenues than the pre-pandemic levels. So in other words, in the first 9 months, fiscal 2023-2024, from October 1st, right, to the end of June, the revenues received from the energy sector, notwithstanding the fact that we've seen a fall or decline in natural gas production, we still recorded higher revenues than we would have gotten in 2018, 2019, when production was higher. You know why? Because according to him, the prices that we get now for our natural gas is higher than what we were getting pre-pandemic. As a result of what you heard him say there, renegotiated gas prices. Who renegotiated that? Kevin Ramnarine? Kamala Prasad says, no. That was Keith Rowley and Stuart Young, right? Along with the technocrats from the NGC and so on. But you have the bald-headed lout, always doing like telling them, oh, they went and they get out smart and Rowley, you know what he's doing, and thing, and Dumb and Dumber, or Dumb and Dotish, Beavis and Butthead, Ren and Stimpy, whatever you want to call them, in that evening show. And on that station, that radio station, always parroting that stupidness. I know that is corruption and how the Prime Minister and the Minister could be getting involved in negotiations and all of that. But here it is that you have this economist. As far as I know, he's not paying them. Telling you $2.4 billion more. So you make more money with less production. More money, less production. Higher production, pre-pandemic, making less money. Because the prices we were getting then is much lower. We didn't deal with Henry Hub now. Okay? So the issue of transfer pricing, which Stuart Young has made constant reference to, where our natural gas is being purchased at a price here. So they want to pay a certain price here. And then they take the natural gas and they go to the international markets, to Europe and Asia and wherever else, and selling it at a much higher price and making significant profits on our heads. So in recognition of that fact, when Dr. Rowley went and sat down with the heads of these companies and he let them know, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? We treating all them nice, all they have access to the gas, and that's what they're doing us. Come now, we have a bigger share of the pie. That can't work. It can't work. We may not have the resources right now to sell it directly for ourselves to these markets for the price that you're paying, but they all had up the ante. Again, I'm speaking for my shareholders, who are the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. I let all know what time it is. Yeah, I'm happy that you all operate in my country, but I let all know what time it is. So these renegotiated prices, you just say, not me saying, and that's why I make sure I play it for all you to hear. Valmiki say so. If they have a suited, go and talk to Valmiki and tell him, yeah, next thing, I say, just not go here, he's paying him. But they pay him to say that. Just like the Standard & Poor's rating that we got a couple days ago. I hear they saying, they fully done saying that, asking questions, how much they pay Standard & Poor's to say that, or to produce that report, right? But your Prime Minister did that. Keith Rowley did that. So the next time you hear that clown talking about, oh, they outsmart Rowley and Young, and they make a bad deal, and Trinidad and Tobago paying the price, no, my friend. According to Valmiki, who's an economist, versus Anil Roberts, who's a clown, right? Was, as my good friend Angie would say, a clown on rollerblades. He don't know beef from bullfoot when it comes to economics, so he'll talk that talk. And you know, they fully done, so the waterfront ilk will buy it and run with it wholesale. But the man who went to school and studied economics, and whose job it is to study these things on a daily basis, he is telling you differently. He is saying that what Keith Rowley and Stuart Young did, it's very good. Give them an applause. Right? So we know that when those gas reserves come online later in the next 3 years or so, what does that tell you? Who should we put the management of our energies, in whose hands should we put the management of our energy sector? The persons who have been able to renegotiation of gas prices to get us. Now imagine if they had taken the advice of the opposition and remained with the status quo. That wouldn't happen, right? And the extra 2-point-something billion that we made in the first 9 months of this fiscal, we wouldn't have gotten it. We'd have gotten far less than that, operating based on oil prices. But where is the kudos? You think the Express newspaper will write about that? You think that will find its way in the Express editorial? Or the front page of the Express newspaper, that tabloid? No, they're not going to do that. How they could do that? As Mr. Manning would say, you can't do that. They're not about boosting the stocks of this administration. So we will only look for the negatives. And we will jam them from front page to back page to editorial and anywhere else we can find the space. Even with the foolish questions that they're asking, to solicit all kind of bacchanal answers. Yes, that is what they will do. But thing like this, imagine CNC3. CNC3 make the front page of the Guardian. They'll probably mention it in the business. The fully done Sunday waterfront, they're not reading. They don't buy papers, first of all. Right? They just read headlines. Because you're getting it free on Facebook, and they wouldn't even click the link and read the content of the story. They read the headline. And if there's anything that promotes the government, they bypass that street and pretend they didn't see it. Or they jump in the comments and talk about it's lie. The 1%, but the 1% supporting the boy and all kind of chopped talk. That's what they're good at. We could never make a positive comment. Just like I saw the accident that took place by Milat the other day when the two young men rescued the guy from the burning car. I went into the comments as usual and, just as I expected. Rather than commend the men, you had these clowns talking about, let's check to make sure the man wallet's still in the pocket. Make sure the man still have his jewelry and thing, you see, or let's see in the phone, his cell phone. Yeah, they save him so they could rob him. That's the foolishness. So even they do bad, you jam them, and they do good, you're still jamming them. So what's the point? That's why somebody would just throw their hand up in the air, don't matter. There's nothing they could do to please the fully dones. Once you come from B-terms, or anything like that, as far as they're concerned, you could only do bad. And even when you do good, they will find a way to turn good into bad. So just to forget them. Waste that time. But let's take note of that, what I just played there for you. So understand, come 2027, and who knows what could happen between now and 2027 based on how the situation in Venezuela pans out. Right? Based on how that pans out. We could very well see we may get other fields as well. So the future looks bright. Not under Kamala Prasad Biswas and Kevin Ramnay. All right? Not under them. So looking at the time here, and the last thing I wanted to touch on quickly before I open the lines. So yesterday, the special report of the Auditor General was laid in the Parliament. You all know the special report to the Auditor General's report that she would have filed earlier on this year. That caused the contention, and they're talking about $3.3 billion missing. And no $3.3 billion are missing. But she has decided to double down and triple down in her affidavit, right, on the matter, rather than clear up the whole issue about the $2.6 billion error with respect to the check and the 700 and something million that had to do with, again. So both issues were tied to refunds, tax refunds. So the 760 million was in fact refunds that would have been checks that would have been issued in 2022, and the persons would have presented it for payment in 2023, so that it would have had an impact on 2023's revenue position, right? And then we have the 2.6 billion error, where in reconciliation of a check that would have been paid for a VAT refund that somebody suffering from temporary dyslexia, it seems, put in the wrong figure and caused that to happen, right? Because ain't no way the government pay no one person $2.6 billion as a VAT refund, right? That would constitute several, but one check. So, Madam Auditor General, in her affidavit, right, let me get it here. Let me see. So, I know I saved it. So, did I save it on that other page? Give me 1 second. Don't know how many of you are following that, but back on that list. Yes, let me see this here. Where did I save that here, boy? Oh yes, I was supposed to talk on the fact that Heritage recorded a $1.48 billion profit, but we're gonna talk that on Tuesday. Yeah. Oh Lord, I guess I didn't. Just someone. Forgive me. Ramdas crossed the line, as yesterday expressed it. Oh yes, they're happy to post that. Auditor General Jaiwanti Ramdas alleged that the finance minister Colin Imbut tried to bully and intimidate her to change her 2023 audit report, and that he crossed the line in doing so. She said further that the attacks against her in the Parliament by both Imbut and Attorney General Reggie Amor on April 26 caused her great humiliation and distress, so much so that she had to abandon her errands in the public domain and retreat to her home. I wonder why. Who was harassing you in the public domain? The members of the public who realized that you're on folly? How come you weren't getting support from the masses from the other side, who calling you that you're a great hero and you're standing up for the rights of the citizens? They have none of them in the area. So where you went was only PNM. Okay. Ramdas has commenced legal action against the AG, seeking, among other things, that she has the right to retain a legal representative to defend herself on issues that have arisen pertaining to the preparation and delaying of the Auditor General's report 2023 in Parliament. Her claim was filed in the High Court on Tuesday, and her legal team is led by former AG Anna Ramluman. The Express obtained the 1,465 plus pages of court documents. Ooh, that's plenty pages, boy. And an real-time money hand, which included an affidavit from Ramdas detailing what transpired after she completed her report and all the actions from the Ministry of Finance to try to get her to change the audited accounts. According to Ramdas's affidavit, Imbert called her on April 3, 2024 and inquired whether she was aware of the problem regarding the missing 3.4 billion in the national accounts that were presented, and she indicated it had only been brought to her attention. It had only been brought to her attention. What that means? Because the ministry is on record as having said they made several attempts to contact her, whether it be by email from the permanent secretary, phone calls from the PS, and other officials in the ministry, and she did not respond to any. But she told the minister, and the minister only intervened after failed attempts by his subordinates to treat with the matter and to engage the Auditor General's department. And the Auditor General, that is what was reported, and Ms. Ramdas, to the best of my knowledge, has never refuted that. Right? But she's saying now, complaining that the minister called her to speak on the issue. Well, if it is the permanent secretary can't get through to you, well, I am the last refuge. She goes on to say, Imbert asked her what she could do to help the government resolve the problem. Her words, Ramdas expressed concern that her office would be unfairly blamed by having to accept responsibility for a mistake of such magnitude, and in response, the minister, acting prime minister, tersely told me that we will deal with the question of blame later on. Don't worry about that. And said that I needed to cooperate with the government and solve the problem. Now, I don't see how you could have a concern that your department could be unfairly blamed when the reasons given for the shortfall clearly has nothing to do with your department. It originated, central bank, the 2.6 billion, and then the 760 million had to do with income tax refund checks and VAT refund checks that were issued in 2022 and were presented for payment in 2023, right? For fiscal 20. They were issued in fiscal 2022, 2023, but would have been presented after, right? So she had no query with respect to the 760 million, which was. But anyway, let me continue in the interest of time. This telephone call left me with an uneasy feeling. The tone and attitude of the minister made me very uncomfortable. I felt intimidated and extremely worried. I was concerned and worried because this was not the first time that the Minister of Finance had called me personally about my audit reports, and I felt he was crossing the line. Okay. He reported that to anybody? This was not in keeping with established protocol, she said. Ramdas stated that the April 3rd phone call was not the first time Imbert had called her. She said that after she submitted her reports on the financial statements of the Heritage and Stabilization Fund on November 29th for the year, ended September 30th, 2023, the minister called her personal cell phone to criticize an adverse finding she had made against the Finance Ministry. He called me on the 15th of January, 2024 at 2:37 p.m. So my girl keeping records. She write on that. Okay. The only thing she didn't put in was 2:37 and how many seconds. On my personal cell to express his displeasure over my finding that a deposit in the sum of US $182,213,278 was made on December 23, 2022, in breach of the requirements of Section 13 of the Heritage and Stabilization Fund Act. I was surprised that the minister was calling me on my personal cell phone as opposed to my official office phone, as I was not aware of how he came to have the contact number for my personal cell phone. Okay. All right. He told me that he was of the view that I was wrong to make such an adverse finding in the audit report on the HSF and demanded that I change it. I found the minister's tone and attitude to be arrogant and threatening, and I felt as if he was trying to bully and intimidate me into changing my report. I told the minister that I felt uncomfortable with the conversation, but he could have had the permanent secretary write me about the matter if he so desired, and he said goodbye and hung up the phone. Ramdas said about 2 weeks later, Imbert wrote her by letter dated January 31st, 2024, on the Auditor General's report, on the 2023 financial statements of the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, where he again requested that she change her report. A copy of Imbu's letter was provided. Ramdas stated, I was uncomfortable with the minister's demands and the arrogant and intimidating manner in which he was dealing with me. I decided that it would be unethical to accede to his request to change my finding. So you don't have any legal counsel in the office of the Auditor General to say, well, hey, advise me on this, right? You call Anan? So she replied to Imbu by letter dated February 14, 2024, stating that the report and the financial statements of the HSF remains unchanged. Error in public accounts. Ramdas stated that on April 5, 2024, she received another memorandum from the Finance Ministry's Permanent Secretary, which stated that arising out of its reconciliation process, the variance discovered in the Statement of Revenue for the financial year 2023, which was submitted to her department in January of 24, is 2.6 billion. She said the PS indicated that they will conduct one final check in respect of the remaining balance of 780 million, and accordingly advised that the finalized statements will be submitted to her by April 9. Given the magnitude of the alleged error in the national accounts, the shifting of the financial goalpost to the lower revenue figure, and the significant amount of revenue that could not be accounted for, I was very concerned about these unexpected and unprecedented developments. She said she was also reluctant to accept these accounts because she was unclear as to whether she could lawfully do so, as the Act did not make provision for the submission of any other accounts. A lot to read. Let me see here. Right. She said she was also, right, so the Act did not make provision for that. Ramdas also noted that her audit was completed and to receive amended statements would railroad the hard work of the department. Uncharted waters. Just give me 5 minutes. Let me just finish this. Being placed in uncharted waters with no precedent, to guide her, Ramdas continued to detail all the attempts representatives from the Ministry of Finance made to get her to accept the amended accounts. I wonder if that included not responding to the email from the Permanent Secretary, not taking phone calls from the Permanent Secretary, not returning phone calls and messages from the Permanent Secretary. I wonder if that is how she, as she said here, resisted attempts. How she continued to detail all the attempts. She said the Finance Ministry, by letter dated April 9th, confirmed the variance was in fact 2.6 billion. She noted there was no mention of the unaccounted 780 million in this letter. Ramdas said she had several concerns with what had transpired as the ministry was claiming a significant increase in the revenue figure of approximately 3.4 billion. And she said the goalpost kept shifting. Within days, the Finance Ministry quickly revised this figure. Ramdas also reiterated that the amended statement of account was backdated to January 31st, 2024, and it appeared that the ministry expected her to simply substitute or replace the original public accounts that were submitted on January 31st with this amended version without more. This gave rise to ethical issues that made me extremely uncomfortable because it would breach my code of conduct as an auditor, affect the integrity of the auditing process, and could lead to allegations of fraud. Pre-action protocol letter, the Auditor General stated that on April 15, 2024, she was shocked to receive a pre-action protocol letter from Kendra Mark Gordon of the Attorney General's office threatening legal action against her if she did not accept the amended accounts. Ramdas said out of an abundance of caution, she accepted the amended accounts and dispatched a team to start auditing the revised figures. Right, so which means the team, she would have dispatched them on the 16th of April. Now understand, 15th of April, you got the pre-action protocol. The 16th, you dispatch your senior staff to go to the ministry and conduct an audit. So you have to inform the ministry. I don't know. I don't understand how do you do that. So you get a pre-action protocol letter on the 15th, and you just call your senior auditor and tell them, hey, go down by the ministry and audit. The ministry know they come in. Did you prepare the ministry? Did you tell them before, well, look, these are the documents that my auditors would need to review. So could you please have them on hand? But no, you say you dispatch your auditors. If the ministry don't know, you come in, your auditors come in to audit. They put nothing in place. So when it is that you come, or your auditors come, and they're asking for things now, you give us no heads up.
So you expect us to run around the place like headless chicken looking to get this and get that and put this together. As somebody right now, the National Trust, we are going through the process of our audit. Let me tell you, this is not something that you can do today for today. Right? The auditors have to send us in advance a list of the things that they need, and then the accountant and the accounting assistant will then proceed to put together all of the documents along with the operations assistant and so on. And that takes a few days. And they say, well, as soon as these things are available, let us know so that the auditors can come and start to do their work. But you dispatch, you ain't getting no heads up. Anyway, Ramdas said, out of an abundance of caution, she accepted the amended accounts and dispatched the team to start the auditing, to audit the revised figures. She said the senior audit staff could not verify the information they were provided, and the Finance Ministry was unable to produce the relevant financial records and supporting documentary evidence to verify and substantiate this alleged increase in the government's revenue. Yeah, because you expect them to have all these things on hand right away as you just show up, right? And between the 16th when you dispatched your auditors and the 24th, they were able to get all the documents they needed in that 7-8 day period. They made because your report was submitted on the 24th. So within that 7-day period, you expected your auditors to get all these voluminous documents that they needed to verify and all of that, and still to be able to generate a new report in 7 days. Attacks in Parliament. Ramdas submitted her report on April 24, 2024. You dispatch your auditors on the 16th, and then you submit a report 8 days later. Wow. You're an expert in speed typing. Included in the report was a management letter which highlighted the problems that were discovered by the audit in the Treasury statements, which were submitted on April 16, 2024, when compared to the statements received on January 31st, 2024. So you issue a management letter for anybody who knows how this auditing process goes. And when they issue you a management letter, really and truly, you get a little bit of time to fix. Which is why in Tobago, the issue of the zip line never made its way into the Auditor General's report, because a management letter was issued and the THA was able to satisfactorily explain the situation with the zip line and provide the relevant documentation. And the Auditor General's department, which at the time Jayanti Ramdas was not in charge of, was satisfied with the information given, and as such, that matter was not mentioned in the Auditor General's report, contrary to what Farley Augustine and Watson Duke told the population in 2021 to be able to get into office. The Auditor General said on April 26, her staff alerted her to the attacks on the AG and the inbreach in the Parliament. She said at a public outing on April 27, 2024, people who recognized her were laughing, and this caused distress to her son. I was forced to abandon doing my errands and return home. It was humiliating, a frustrating and depressing experience that I will never forget, not being accustomed to being the subject of such intense adverse media attention. I felt humiliated and betrayed. I could not believe that the Minister of Finance and the Attorney General would make such misleading statements about my professional conduct in Parliament, and I was being justifiably ridiculed and vilified. It affected my sleep and peace of mind and left me feeling very depressed. Then she said, there's another article that speaks about her, having to take loans and stuff to pay her legal fees. Who tell you to go and take Annan? But to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but normally if these attorneys believe that they have a winning chance, wouldn't they say, well, don't worry, we will do the work, and then when we win the case, we were putting an application for costs. So the state or whoever will pay us, not you rather pay. Right? Because if she's suing, they could ask for costs. So I don't understand why she had to be paying Annan now. Annan pocket deep and then some. We'll talk about that another time. So before I open the lines, let me just read quickly the response of the Minister of Finance. Not to this necessarily. Well, to this and also that other article which I thought I had saved. Let me just get this here quickly, right? Statement from the Minister of Finance. Madam Speaker, I am authorized by Cabinet to make the following statement on the special report of the Auditor General on the public accounts for financial year 2023. Please take note that this is recorded on Hansard for posterity, right? And if it is that there's anything in here that is untrue and misleading, the opposition is free to bring the Minister before the Privileges Committee for misleading the Parliament. Following the public statements made by the Auditor General with respect to her original report on the 2023 accounts, her baseless assertion that the Ministry of Finance sought to unethically backdate the original 2023 accounts has been completely refuted. The special report does not assist in any way in clearing up the main issue in contention, which resulted from an overstatement of tax refunds and subsequent under-reporting of net revenue, leading to a $2.6 billion discrepancy in the revenue figures for 2023. So basically that special report that she got an extra 4 months to produce was a waste of time. And only serves to continue to fuel this foolish narrative on the part of the fully duns that $3.3 billion missing and cannot be accounted for. But you will hear shortly why her excuse, right? The main point of this special report, the expected scope of which was clearly outlined in a letter written by the Permanent Secretary to the Auditor General on June 16, 2024, was to clear up that issue. However, instead of confirming that the $2.6 billion discrepancy had been resolved and that there was in fact no missing money, the Auditor General has avoided making any definitive statement on that very important matter in this special report, and instead has chosen to make caustic remarks about the staff and the systems in the Ministry of Finance. What is particularly disturbing about the Auditor General's approach to this matter is the fact that at the exit meeting held on July 22, 2024, to complete the process of meetings on the special report, the audit team from the Auditor General's report, which included some of the most senior auditors in that department, openly expressed its satisfaction to the staff of the Ministry of Finance that the adjustment of $2.6 billion was appropriately accounted for. So contrary to what Jayanti say, well, she didn't want to speak directly to that issue. But her senior auditors, who she dispatched, are saying, based on the information they received, the documents that they requested and they received for scrutiny, they are satisfied with the explanation given with respect to the $2.6 billion. However, the Auditor General, in her audit opinion on page 25, did not state that she was satisfied that the error in the public accounts for financial year 2023 was corrected. So there is clearly a contradiction between the Auditor General and her senior audit staff. Some of whom was probably there before her, but anyway. However, we view this omission on her part as a continuing campaign of non-cooperation and criticism of public officials in the Ministry of Finance by the Auditor General. On a related matter, I took note of the screaming headlines in the Sunday Express of September 8, 2024. That is, Central Bank denied me access regarding an affidavit. Right. Come on. Right. Regarding an affidavit dated. Thank you, sir. September 5th, 2024, filed by the Auditor General in the constitutional matter against the AG over the payment of legal fees to her selected attorney, former UNC Attorney General Anand Ramlogan. Reference in that affidavit was made to extracts from the special report, although on September 5th, 2024, the special report had not yet been laid in Parliament, and the premature disclosure of its contents is, in our view, a breach of process. So even before the Minister had opportunity and occasion to lay the report in Parliament yesterday, the contents of same, some of the contents of same was reported in the newspaper on Sunday. So she preempted the Minister, which is as I said here, is against process. Because when the report is completed, a copy goes to the President of the Senate, I believe, the Speaker of the House, and the Minister of Finance. And after it is laid, then everybody else can get a copy. So is it any wonder that we saw that the UNC was making reference and talking about things in the report even before the report was laid? And the question must be asked, how did they get a copy of that? Well, in the words of Peter Minchell, ask a silly question. It is clear to us that the premature publication of that emotionally charged affidavit in the Sunday Express was designed to evoke public sympathy. In that Sunday Express article, the Auditor General claimed that the central bank denied her access to the electronic check clearing system, which negatively impacted her ability to perform a proper audit and check of the system, which led to the understatement of the same $2.6 billion in revenue. So she's trying to pour cold water and say, well, let's see, he say it had a check error, but central bank didn't let me check the system, so I can't verify what him would say. And the fully done will run with that. And but lie, why? I'm sure he called the central bank governor and tell them, don't let the woman come and check nothing. Because they are see lying. Okay. He goes on to say, we fail to see the connection between that alleged denial of access to the central bank's computer systems and the confirmation that the 2.6 billion understatement had been resolved, as stated by her audit team on July 22nd, 2024. When I saw that Express article, I asked the governor of the central bank for his comments. The governor has informed me that following an email request made on June 24, 2024, by an official in the Auditor General's department to examine the bank's electronic check clearing system and its Go Anywhere platform, it requested official correspondence from the Auditor General with an outline of the scope of the potential engagement. The central bank also indicated that it was open and willing to meet with the Auditor General on the matter at any mutually convenient time. So the central bank saying, as if you have doubts and if you feel Mbut was lying when he mentioned this $2.6 billion check issue, this error, we willing to sit down with you and talk. And we could corroborate what it is Mr. Mbut says. So if you feel lying, we will tell you. We are none to hide. Mr. Mbut would have a few months ago in the parliament made reference to the fact that he would have sent correspondence some time ago to the central bank requesting information on the new issue of $100 notes that is supposed to come out in December with new security features. And he wanted to get information on the cost of these notes, who was the printer and all of these things. And the central bank wrote to him and told him, hey, we don't have to respond to you. We don't have to give you no information. And they referred him to the section of the act. And Mr. Mbut said the information was not provided to him. So if anybody wants to say that Mbut had central bank under his finger, it is on Hansard where he spoke about that experience and the central bank never denied it. Nobody came out and said, well, no, the minister requested and we didn't. So therefore, if they haven't denied it, and we know central bank has no problem if it is they accused of something, putting out a press release to clear the air. I continue. Just now. I am advised that to date, while it has received an outline of the scope of the proposed examination from a subordinate in the Auditor General's department, not from the Auditor General, she tells some low-level functionary or they send that there for central bank. The bank has not yet received any correspondence from the Auditor General delegating authority to her staff to act on her behalf on this matter, nor has it received a proposed time or date for the earlier requested meeting between the Auditor General and the governor. And this is the consummate professional, that is the Auditor General. And the central bank is saying, well, we told you, well, okay, you want to get information about this check error. No problem, we are willing to meet with you any day, anytime, just let us know. Up to now, they're still waiting for a date and a time. But she's saying she was denied access. And they are saying, well, we waiting, we tell you we'll have a meeting. So what's going on? As such, the bank was unable to accommodate the request. However, in that regard, the bank has advised me, given the historical relationship between the Auditor General and the bank, and the important role of the Auditor General in the conduct of national affairs, the governor remains open to meeting with and discussing any matter with the Auditor General. This meeting can form the basis for a precise and properly constituted engagement that, while not in the nature of an audit of the accounts of the central bank, which has already been completed, could be very informative as regards public sector financial transactions and processes. In other words, central bank will give you a detailed account as to how the process works with respect to the verification of the checks and all of these different things, right? And how the error could have occurred. We're willing to sit down with you. But if it is that you are going to appoint a low-level functionary to meet with us, instead of you coming yourself with your team, you need to let us know, all right? They go on to say it is hoped that the Auditor General will follow the established procedures and meet with the governor of the central bank on this matter, or alternatively, delegate authority in writing to the Deputy Auditor General or another suitable member to act on her behalf. So it's not anybody you could send, right? So the central bank is saying, we recognize certain officers. So if you don't want to come for yourself, because for whatever reason, well, you could send your deputy or some other senior member of staff who you think is capable of doing the work. In conclusion, it is the government's view that the special report of the Auditor General and the public accounts for the financial year 2023 only adds fuel to the fire, creates more unnecessary public confusion, and does not satisfactorily address the core issue that arose with the Auditor General's original report in the 2023 accounts, which is a $2.6 billion discrepancy in revenue, and which in our view has since been comprehensively cleared up. So says the Minister/Ministry of Finance. All right? So the imbroglio continues. The impasse continues. When it should have been brought to an end yesterday, We have the Auditor General digging in her heels because she realizes now she has the support of the fully done on her side. And to come now and clear it up after they hug up this thing for months and say, oh, but thief, rowdy thief, money missing. They're disappointed now. That if she come and clear that up, what will they say? They have nothing to run with. Oh boy. What's going on here, man? How did that happen? So let me just put this thing on here. 1 second. But we will interrogate that further. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Right. Morning. I know you ran really deep this morning and there's very little time available.
Go ahead. I'll go a little over 9. Yeah, I'll go a little over 9.
Good. Right. Let me just start by saying this. I followed the proceedings in both houses of Parliament yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing caught my attention. I was extremely pleased and honored. I'm choosing my words carefully. When I heard the Attorney General give his wind-up speech in the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
And he said something that really caught my attention. And it is something that most Trinidadians are not aware of. He said that they were dealing with some name changes of senior offices in his department. Chief State Solicitor General, this, that, the other. Because of the fusion of the profession, lawyer, attorney, right.
Mm-hmm.
He said something. He said some officers in there talked to him confidentially and told him that they don't want a repeat of what happened with the Chief Justice in the 90s, the late 90s.
Mm.
And he called the name Michael de Labastide. And I mean, everything he said was so pertinent. And it took me back 29 years in one instance and 25 years in the other instance. 29, because when Clinton Bernard retired in May 1995, most of Indo-Trinidad and all of the UNC felt that Satnarayan Sharma would have been appointed as Chief Justice.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Manning had different ideas. He invited Michael de Labastide to come from off the bench to take up the post. And that was not the first time that happened. It happened with Hugh Wooding back in 1962. So the first reaction, de Labastide accepted the request.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? The first statement that came from any Trinidadian came from Basdeo Pandey.
Mm-hmm.
You know what he said? You know what Pandey said? Another Hindu bites the dust.
Wow.
Another Hindu bites the dust. Sharma was not. You see, for all of Indo-Trinidad and all of the UNC, there was the feeling that Sharma was the heir apparent.
Mm-hmm.
Because he and Clinton Bernard used to be walking around the savannah on afternoons. I used to see them. I'm a positive person. And I used to be walking around the savannah buying my coconut water. And I used to see both of them every afternoon. But Sharma didn't get a job. And that set the tone for the broadside on Michael de Labastide when Pandey became Prime Minister in 1995. And yesterday, the Attorney General raised some issues there. He said that the Pandey administration, through its Attorney General, terrorized Michael de Labastide. They terrorized him. They told him that if he wanted a cent, if he wanted a penny, they had to ask the Attorney General for permission. He has to account to him any request he wanted for financial disbursement. He must come to me. He must come to me. In other words, stifling the independence of the Chief Justice. And to that end, when the Pandey administration launched this broadside on the Labastide, and all for one reason, because Sharma was not the Chief Justice. And in 1999, the Pandey government set up a tribunal to investigate Michael de Labastide. And it comprised former retired judges of the Commonwealth. led by one of the most controversial Chief Justices England has ever had, Lord Mackay. Lord Mackay. And guess what? Guess what? And you see, history has a way of repeating itself. If you read my lips, one of the first people to appear before that tribunal was somebody who's still a judge today. Read my lips. Very controversial. Very, very controversial. And significantly, this person has been a judge for the better part of 30 years and has never been promoted to the appeal court through several different Chief Justices. Lavasi, Bernard, Sharma, Ivor Archie, all these people. And it is very telling. And if people think I'm lying, just read Michael Lavasi's book. But I remember on political platforms, Pandey and his sidekicks used to be attacking the Lavasi deliberately on public political platforms. I don't want to deal with the Attorney General today. I probably have a word or two to say about her, but I just want to underscore the point, right? That when the Attorney General raised that issue yesterday, I was very, very proud because most Trinidadians are not aware of the goings-on in the judiciary in the late 90s. And poor Michael Lavasi died a very sad man some years ago. Because if you read his book, The Autobiography of a Jurist, a Caribbean Jurist, you will see what I'm talking about. And supported by Armour yesterday, that he was attacked by Pandey's UNC government. Why? All because Satnarayan Prasad Sharma was not given the job of Chief Justice in May 1995. And that is the UNC for you. Pandey's comment, another Hindu bites the dust. Wow. For them, it's all about race and nastiness and never about country. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you, sir. Here we are, almost 20, almost 30 years later, and they still haven't changed. Still have not changed. I'm going to get this here. Give me 1 sec. Have not changed, will not change. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Good morning, Dominic. How are you, my darling?
I am good.
Let me have a word of prayer. Father, we thank you for today. God, for the PNM government that you have placed in this land for a purpose and a time. God, whether it is right for purpose, who's the balance how. God, PNM is the first fruit, and first fruits are always blessed. And every negative word over PNM children and where the little Father, I bring it to naught in the name of Jesus Christ and by the power of the blood, Father. Blessed is the nation whose Lord is God, and upon your law, Father, meditate day and night. You make a tree planted by the rivers of God to bring forth fruit in due season. Just by saying amen, amen, amen. UNC is a party of hate. They're not civic-minded, nor can be, because this nation is not theirs. Is PNM perfect? No. But we do not go out of our way. You know who you are, even like or slander. And what you could be able to give out, you should take back. Milat is playing again, you know. You see, when he gets, he will take it then. Cam, the same thing too, because she's playing a game of politics. It's not my nation, but my party. A civic-minded patriot will always put a nation first, right? Because out of a nation came your party. If you have no nation, You have no party, whether PNM, USD, or NPD. And Gary Griffith said, it is time you go to the sunset. Because you but talk, come about talk you. Your divorce is acrimonious. There was no honeymoon. What you waiting for? Like abuse? Because you but talk, come about talk you, but talk to the Prime Minister. The same thing you planted the God back, you can't take it. Then don't start. It's all about you. What you can achieve. A civic-minded person will stop and think, am I right? Am I wrong? Put the country's business first. And Mr. Young is being groomed there for Professor Stuart Young because he has the heart of a servant leader. To lead, you must serve. And that is why he is there. Nice heart too was this guy who Rambaran, right? Camille Rambaran's husband. Next guy is Rambarose and Iwari. Are they perfect? No, but there's something about their heart that God loves them. Last night I spent 2 hours praying for this nation, right? And what I say, I cannot say right now. It's not for the public here, but Dama will go through this nation, I'll tell you in time. Be blessed, my family. Have a wonderful day, and God's blessing be upon each one of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Jenny. Hello. Hello. Jen.
Hello.
Yeah, Jen.
Hi. Hi, morning, Dominic.
Morning.
Morning to all the callers, listeners of Facts or Stubborn Things. Dominic, I always like to understand why people act the way they act, because I think sometimes that will help in trying to understand. I do not declare to be a psychologist, psychiatrist, or counselor, but I can have a conversation on things like that because I would have done some training in that area. I would like to ask the Auditor General, Ms. Jayanti Ramdas, did she get a position in the Auditor General office based on race or based on experience and qualification? There's a reason I'm asking this. There was a gentleman in 2012 who would have taken the Auditor General office to the Equal Opportunity Commission. It was a man of African descent. And he would have claimed that it was due to racism that he was denied the opportunity to act as the Auditor General because of his race. And in 2017, a judgment was made against the Auditor General office in which this African gentleman won his case. And the Equal Opportunity Commission agreed that he was bypassed for promotion and acting because he was a man of African descent. So that is why my question is to a legitimate one to the Auditor General, who is of Indian descent. Did she get her position because of race rather than qualification and academic or experience? Because the gentleman went on to win a substantial amount of money award for what he would have been denied had he been allowed to act in the position as Auditor General. And who knows, he may have been the Auditor General today. So that's why I'm putting that out there. Because when you look at her lawyers, one of them was the former Attorney General of this country, who would have given orders to look up 8,000 African youth and say, lock them up, you will find things to charge them with after. So when you look in that kind of context, and he was the same Attorney General, who when an African child made a parody or something on Facebook or something, yes, it may not have been in the best interest, but he said, hunt she down. Hunt she down, and they hunt down this African child to get her to apologize. And the word that went out, we'll hunt her down. So when I put all that in context, is this situation with Jayanti Ramdas more of a racial conversation rather than a professional one? And let me not fool yourself and be stupid in this thing. You've now heard what Mr. Yates would have said. So it's not impossible that the motive behind her behavior is rather a personal one rather than a professional one. And that personal one may be due to race. I'm just leaving that here. Dominic, on the 16th of the 5th month, 2024, in The Guardian, there was a headline, Trinidad and Tobago, worst performing regional economy. And this was said by university economist, Professor Roger Hossain, who was convinced that Trinidad and Tobago could learn from Guyana exceptional economic growth performance, right? I am seeing yesterday in the Quieter News. This is what it says. ExxonMobil Guyana Limited did not have to pay over $197 billion in taxes to the Guyana Revenue Authority for the past 2 years, which will be 2023 and 22, as taxes were paid by the government of Guyana in keeping with the lopsided production sharing agreement the coalition government signed with the U.S. oil major back in 2016. Plainly put, Mobile exile digging for oil, getting the oil, getting the money, getting everything, but they ain't paying no taxes at all. The government of Guyana paying the taxes. And it's all because of a contract that was made in 2016. And that is who Professor Hossain wants we to follow behind. Look at the flip side of that. Dr. Rowley and Minister Stuart Young will have gone to Guyana energy seminars. There was one video that Mr. Glenn Lal, who is the owner of this newspaper, would have played. Is where Dr. Rowley said, contracts are not made in stone. They could be renegotiated. And that is what they would have done when they came in 2015. With coming up as a recession, they're leaving this country in a recession. And with debts to pay, the 14% increase for public officers, and all the other recurring expenditure. And there was no money. When they went to the oil companies, they say, hey, we have to get until 2024. And Dr. Rowley and Minister Stuart would have renegotiated those contracts. And we are getting money today. Again, I'm putting it back to Professor Hossain. You say we are the worst performing economy. However, we have been making billions of dollars in corporate taxes since 2019 from renegotiated contracts, whereas Guyana has paid $197 billion for taxes from ExxonMobil. The government of Guyana had to pay that. So that will continue to ask again, is these people analysis of situation and performance in the job is more based on race rather than professionalism? I'm just asking. Because Minister Stuart Young had even asked them in Guyana if they want help to deal with these contracts. I am available to help. And we see that he could help. Here's the man have been in charge of the industry, the energy industry, and look at the work that was done there. The Dragon deal that has been there for years. The PP government with Kevin Ramnarine, the one who always calling for everything, never was able to bring it to where it is now. All the contracts that have been coming to fruition that we will be able to see money 2026, 2027 is due to People's National Movement under Dr. K. Christopher Rowley. And the man leading that charge is Minister Stuart Young, SC. So I want Professor Hossain, you say I like to check them, you know, because I must read. I don't know if some of the people don't read, but you need to retract what you say because Guyana could never be the best performing economy in the region with things like that, with a pain, a company who drilling oil, gain the money from the oil they dig, and the country, instead of getting back money from it to help the citizens of that country, then paying off all the taxes for that company. That is not prudent management at all. And before I leave, I just want to tell the women who support the People's National Movement. I got some historical context of the Women's League, its inception, and what it was formed to do. And that these women in the Women League were the ones who used to canvass, get the women in the communities out on the street, canvassing, teaching the children, educating the children, and letting them understand the importance of a People's National Movement. And we see what came out of Dr. Eric Williams becoming the first Prime Minister of this country. When we had money, government policies, PNM policies were put in place that everybody to this day continue to enjoy. From free education, to lunch in school, to free transport, to NIB, to all the things that we enjoy is due to the policies of our People's National Movement. Not because of Kamla Persad-Bissessar and the UNC, not because of Basil Pandey and the UNC, not because of any no policy. It's the People's National Movement. So I call it on the women today. It don't have to be no woman in the Women's League, but a woman in this country. Get up, teach the children the truth. Teach your nieces, your nephews, your grandchildren, everybody. Teach them the truth. Come out and speak the truth as it is. Because if we allow the UNC under Kamla Persad-Bissessar again to come back into this country as the government, 2010 to 15 will look like icing on cake. We will catch we aunt, we uncle, we nana, and anything to catch. And remember, they used to be telling me, you go eat grass. Let me tell you something. We will really eat grass on that incarnation of UNC coming back into office. So all they don't tell all the children, don't teach the children. Sit down there about PNM win already. I see a NACTA poll come out. You see me and bothering with that at all. That is just fluff and powder. You have that in winning no election. It's votes winning election. And who does vote is people that go out and vote. So me and studying no poll, but you looking good. You looking good when the night of the election, when it's finished and they come to vote, you hear People's National Movement get 29 seats, 30 seats, 28 seats. Then I go believe what them poll was saying. You see now, we have real work to do because them are sleeping. So we can't afford to sleep. And the women and the drivers and this thing, we the one that's canvas and all they know that. We is the backbone of the People's National Movement. Let us stand up and take back. We place people. Take back your place, women in this society, and the teacher and nurturing the children in this country to make sure the People's National Movement remain in office. Otherwise, as I say again as a lead, we go catch we aunt, we uncle, we nene, we go catch everything. Because the UNC not ready. They have never been ready because they have never been in the interest of all citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. They have been in the interest of a few selected. And we heard they've been described as a kleptocratic government, meaning government ministers have been thieving money and using it for their own personal use and not to the benefit of Trinidad and Tobago. And the PNM has always been in the interest of all citizens in Trinidad and Tobago. Has been the only national party where any race could come and be a part and feel comfortable, feeling love and togetherness. So I leave again by saying, women of the PNM, whether Women's League or not, get up and do your job. Take back your place. We have been absent too long. Let our voices be heard. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Jen. So I'm reading this article here. NACTA PNM holds early advantage ahead of election. There's some things in it that I find to be interesting. It says, NACTA said respondents believe the UNC only has a chance of winning the election if it cleans house of unappealing, disliked MPs, attracts credible faces, and reaches an accommodation with other smaller political parties. None of which they seem inclined to do because, as Rodney Charles said, nobody with integrity wants to associate with the UNC. So forget attracting any credible faces, right? And even the credible faces who may support that party and hope for a turnaround, they're not risking their professional lives to come and offer themselves to be tarnished. No. But hey, Janti or Jaiwanti, show your heart in the ring now. My girl, see. Brian, call me back. I have about another 20, 25 minutes. Call me, 770-1763. Let me see here. Mr. Chance, morning. Hello. Hello. Mr. Chance. Hello.
Nobody with integrity wants to associate with the agency. So forget that traffic and
Hello. Hello.
Hello, good morning, Dominic.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, well, I tried to get in early today, but
yes.
Yeah, I tried to get. Thank you very much. And very interesting, I said, very interesting commentary. And again, I want to repeat, let us share the information. First of all, I want to endorse fully what Jenny said. I am not going to be taking any vibes from NAFTA poll. Yeah? This business about that is one day in politics is a big deal. I know it because I put on the ground for 15 years, polls like that, giving you setting you up and giving you the impression that look now, boy, like we go win. So I had to do, no, this is going to be the mother of all elections. Because anytime any government is going for a three-peat, it becomes even more difficult. So this is going to be a challenging election. I read it, I read all the commentary, but I take Jenny's point. We have to ignore that and do the work. Because sometimes when you get up there and you say, well, oh God, yeah, but no worry, but no, you have to work harder. When I see that poll, into the poll, we work harder. Because it tells us that we've got to get to the ground and get to the bottom of it. No, so thank you, Jenny, for that. And I want to say to Mr. Yates as well, I want to thank Mr. Yates. 3 months ago, Mr. Yates read me that book by Michael Dilabastide, Within the Law. Brian, I finished reading so we can organize to get it back. What you said is totally correct. Black and white. I have the book, I've read the book. In fact, I read it more than once. Yeah? Within the Law, autobiography of Michael Dilabastide, and that started up since that time. It's written and documented, so I want to endorse fully what Mr. Hayes said. So let me come to my main point very quickly. You know, when I see Heritage showing a profit of $1.48 billion, and Dominic, you say you'll talk about it another time, Tuesday, and I see that the people are turning up, as I said, I give you the report about people turning up to pay their taxes, their property taxes. And I see the news, they wrote an article consistent with what I told you. The people said, most of them, there were 1 or 2 people saying things, but generally the opinion was that the tax is affordable and the process is easy. You see, I have an article today. And you have to remember that many people are paying online. So we are seeing another effort by the government in paying food. And that is important to me as a citizen, because we need money to run the country. We need billions of dollars to run the country. And we have to earn that somewhere. And that is the basis for my saying what I have to say. Last night I listened to Kamala Prasad, and I always ask Kamala, where the money coming from? And I invite you as well to ask them when they come around where the money is coming from. But Kamala has a list of things she's going to do. But she isn't telling you where the money is going to come from. Nothing about that. That's the reason why when she had the election and she told the senior citizens, all of them went and voted for her, and she told them, no, make a mistake, or a misprint. Because she doesn't care about that. She makes promises, white promises. But you have to remember, my people, that we have to have the money to do it. Let me tell you, Dominic, you'll be surprised. One of the things she said last night is that she was to reintroduce the baby grant. You know that, Dominic? She's going to reintroduce the baby grant. No, reintroducing the baby grant is money, you know. The next thing she says, she's going to have a commission of inquiry into COVID-19. And money again. No, because what happened, she has told herself that notwithstanding what the Privy Council said, that the government acted in the interest of saving the lives of people of Trinidad and Tobago. She said she's going to have a COVID-19, she's going to have a commission inquiry, and the man she pointed on is the chief medical officer, Parsham. You know, she went at him fully. She also said that she is going to introduce a system where doctors will get more pay. More pay for doctors. She's going to bring many more doctors on stream in the hospital. More doctors for the public hospitals, right? She is going to introduce in the schools, visit by doctors and nurses in the schools, better terms and conditions for doctors, and all these things, my people, I'm saying to you here, cost money. Where's the money going to come from? So when we hear all these promises from Kamala, the people are talking, yes, we like that. But nobody is saying, where is the money going to come from? So this morning again, as I close, I want to make this point. When we hear the promises from Kamala Prasad, the sister, we must ask the question, where is the money coming from? But that is a key, because this country and all countries are run through the revenue that you receive. You have to receive the revenue, and then you have to prioritize how you're going to spend that revenue. I want to compliment the government and how it's managing the economy, and that has been said by Standard & Poor's as well as Dominic Standard & Poor's told us that the economy is stable and we are an investment grade. And as far as I read further on, that they have said that we are one of the few countries in Latin America and the Caribbean in the investment grade, meaning that our country is ready for investment from foreign businesses, and once they come in here, they're going to create employment and create additional revenue. And that is what is good for Trinidad and Tobago. So my people, again, carry the messages around. Don't keep it for yourself. Share it across the board, because these elections are going to be very challenging. It is the mother of all elections as far as I'm concerned. So we've got to make sure that from now, we get into the minds and hearts of the people so that they'll make the right decision when the time comes. Thank you for the time, Tommy.
Thank you, sir. Brian.
Good morning, Dominic.
Morning, sir.
Morning to your listeners and callers. Dominic, I stated on one of your programs what was going on with respect to ExxonMobil and Guyana. I also said that the BBC guy, Stephen Sanka, went to Guyana and he asked the president of ExxonMobil, he told him that what you are doing, what you have done to the people of Guyana is not in keeping with what normally happens with respect to negotiations of our country's oil and gas. And the president of ExxonMobil told him that the people of Guyana are getting very good returns for their oil. I also mentioned to you that ExxonMobil has decided to increase production from the 600 odd million barrels per day, 1,000 barrels per day, to 1 million barrels per day. And there's a reason for that. And they are not going to amend the negotiations with respect to the contractual arrangements that they have with Guyana. And Guyana is, I told you when I went to the States the other day, earlier this year, I asked a Guyanese, because the plane went to Guyana, made a stop in Guyana, and Guyanese got on, and I said, what is your exchange rate? And he told me it was $200 and something to $1 US.
Yes.
And I said, oh, let's still paying that kind of high rate for $1 US. He said, yes. So I asked myself, what is the benefit of all of this oil? Is Guyana benefiting from the oil revenue that should have been coming to them in a big way? And they were not. Even Stephen Sanka shared his concerns. I told you all that. And here it is now. We're getting to realize that they may pay no tax. All the oil and all the money being made from the oil is going into the pockets of the shareholders of ExxonMobil. And Guyana ain't getting nothing. So what ExxonMobil decided to do, build building, pave road, and make it look a little more modern. And fooling the people in Guyana, telling themselves, well, think good. Look how we're looking now. And they are being fooled because they're not getting the revenue from that oil that's coming out from them. In other words, whatever it is they negotiated is not to the benefit of the people. So when I hear people like expert Ramnarain talking about the negotiations that Dr. Rowley and Stuart Young SC did for Trinidad, for us the shareholders, Trinidad and Tobago, I laugh at him because he has nothing good to say. You understand? And ExxonMobil is not going to negotiate that agreement, that contractual arrangement, until it has expired, and Lord knows when that will be. And it ain't anytime soon. That is why I have confidence, and people have to understand this. While we calling and talking about make sure you vote for the PNM, it's not because I love the PNM so bad and oh God, everything the PNM do is the best thing. It is because I have seen what they have done for the future of my grandkids. I have seen it and I have recognized it because I know it is money in our pockets. I always say, Mr. Charles, let's talk about the Human Development Index and where we are. Think about where we will be in 5 years. Think about it, just for a second, think about it. Where you want this country to be in 5 years. All of the bacchanal going on the other side of the chambers in the parliament. That they make it up because the headlines don't realize that. If I was PNM, we had dissidents that go in a corner and sit down. 5 of them or 6 of them, how much of them? And you could bet your bottom dollar when Kamala Prasad Bisesa makes an announcement of who's going to be in what seat, who's going up for what seat, I bet you none of them dissidents they could be there. And they know that. The people of Trinidad and Tobago know it, but you know what? The Guardian and the Express ain't going to highlight that. That will be big headlines. Front page. Big. If that was the PNM. But because it's the UNC and all of them have been bought out, who will get house and land and car and whatever else. At one time, you start all the Prado in the country between 2010 and 2015. Everybody gets fixed nice. So they're not going to highlight that in the way it supposed it would have been highlighted. It was the PNM. But it's who you're going to trust. And Mr. Yates said something, and I'm going to say it again. Like I said it before, but I'll say it again. He reminded me. Because the Chief Justice, present Chief Justice, is going to retire somewhere between 2025 and 2030. And if that UNC is in government, they are going to put somebody there that who we will not like, and it will be a very young person, because the retirement age for the Chief Justice is now 68, 67. Well, you think about it, because there are people gunning for that position. And history has a way, and I want to thank Mr. Yates for what he said, because history has a way of repeating itself when people forget. And that is why we must not forget these things, what transpired back then, how many years ago, 29 years ago. Because it could come back to haunt us if we fail to vote or sit there and say, PNM done win already because they are knocked up all say so. That has nothing to do with us. We have a duty and a responsibility to go out there and ensure that Heritage, Heritage really don't pay up the $12 billion, Dominic.
Mm-hmm.
They nearly finish. And if they're making $1.48 billion in profit while they're paying off that loan, those two loans, how much the government will take when that is completed? Think about it just for a second. That we have the right now, we have the right people in place in Heritage, that we're making profit, they're selling the oil, that oil that they say ain't good for, it ain't no good and all kind of thing. That oil is what they're selling on the international market and making a profit while paying off that $12 billion loan. Think about when that loan is finished, completed, payments on that loan is completed, how much more money we, the citizens, a government in office will collect. Things can only get better. Roger Hussein, when between 2010 and 2015, got a contract from Mahindranath Tiwari to write a paper, and he was paid $2 million. They kept it on the down low until Elmer brought it up in the parliament. He didn't want nobody to know, but Elmer spoke about it in the parliament. That he got a $2 million contract to write a paper from Tiwari. You understand? But he kept it quiet. He talking about oil gas production was down under 2 billion. But he didn't say why. And this is why when people listen to Valmiki Arjun, he explained why. What the upstreamers were doing for that particular month. It was a maintenance issue. You understand? But he didn't say that. He identified that one particular month. But he didn't even go on to say that oil production went up, way back up in July and August. You understand? He didn't say that. He kept that under wraps. But he identified and he highlighted the month of June. Why he must do that? And then you have this so-called expert, according to Jason Williams, JW on the Brew in the morning, calling Heat and asking he questions about the gas deals. He knows nothing about it. Absolutely nothing. And he will never know because he is no expert. He's as dumb as they come. But he likes to be called the expert on oil and gas. When they sold us out to the upstreamers for almost 9 years, and Dr. Rowley had to come back and speak on our behalf to ensure we got back our monies, our royalties. We would have gotten nothing until next year if they were in office, and they would have told us everything good, and we were in the throes of the IMF. This is a warning to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Don't be fooled. Go out and vote. Your one finger is important. And carry who you can carry with you. And remind them and let them know that this is so important. That the position of Chief Justice is also up for grabs. As well as the money we are going to make. Because we are no longer on just Henry Hub prices for gas. Yes, Dr. Rowley has arrested the transfer pricing by aligning us with other higher prices that we will get outside from Europe and Asia and so on. That we're in a better place today. And think about how much more money we will get when in the next couple of years we begin to have Atlantic LNG, all 4 trains up and running because they are getting ready, they are prepared, they are ready. And those 4 trains are going to be bringing in money for us. Because we have interest in all 4. And we will be in a better place by far. Don't be fooled. Go out and vote. Carry somebody with you. Once you're turning 18 and over, carry them. It is important. We must get, according to Jenny, at least 28 or 29 seats. And I know we can do it. Don't play lazy. 1 hour out of your 5 years ain't gonna do nothing. It is for the benefit of our children, our children's children. Dominic, I thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I see Sarah on Facebook is saying, Sarah Richards, I didn't hear anybody from the Duns comment on Valmiki Arjun's comment. They wouldn't comment on that, Sarah, because remember, they have been pushing the narrative that the negotiation or the renegotiation of the gas prices by Dr. Ollie and Stuart Young was a bad deal. And that Dr. Ollie and Stuart Young were outsmarted and the energy companies making money off our heads and so on. But that is based on their limited information. So, just get this here. Turn this off. Yes, sir. Give me 1 sec. Let me just put this here. Right. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just one thing. One
Yes.
thing. I took long enough with you just now.
Go right ahead.
You remember I told you about a tribunal they set up to remove Michael de Labastide in 1999?
Correct.
Right. Some years later, just about 3 years ago, 3-4 years ago, you remember the UNC lawyers in the Law Association come up with a petition to set up a tribunal to investigate Ivor Archie? Yes, and to have him removed and to put a quote-unquote, take note of the quotes, to put a compliant Chief Justice in place so that all their charges would be scuttled and complete the program started by the SETA in 2011 by not extraditing Asian Steve, and 1 year later in 2012, ending the charges via Section 34. So they want the right kind of man, the right kind of Chief Justice to do the racket. And just to repeat what the last caller told you, how history repeats itself. The UNC did it with the Labastide. They tried it again with Ivor Archie, with an Indian vanguard in the Law Association, pushing that head with the same intention, with the same motivation, with the same agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So I saw somebody in the chat by the name of Dora Bola is saying, ask Imbert about the 3 billion, debunk that. Dora, let me tell you something. I don't know if you're new to this platform, right? Mr. Imbert already addressed that. In fact, he addressed it in the Parliament months ago. I don't know if you don't look at the Parliament channel, you don't listen to the Parliament channel. And Mr. Imbert would have indicated that 2.6 billion, and I spoke about it earlier, had to do with a check error on the part of Central Bank, where a check would have been issued for a VAT refund, and somebody input the wrong figure. All right? Because the government isn't going to pay any one individual $2.6 billion as a refund. It's not going to happen. We know the challenges that the state has been having with respect to paying VAT refunds. So 2.6 billion could pay several people some refunds and at least ease up the government. So they're not going to pay any one person. So that was an error, which the minister identified took place in the Central Bank clearinghouse. The Central Bank has not denied that. In fact, I would have read earlier for you the statement by the minister in which he would have spoken to the Central Bank governor. And the Central Bank governor is indicating that contrary to the claim by the Auditor General that she was denied access to their system, they would have outlined for her the process and the procedure to be able to access the system. They asked her to identify if she isn't going to come and meet with the Central Bank governor and other officials herself, to please identify to us who is the senior official that you are going to send. And to date, that has not happened. You can't just let every and any low-level functionary come to say a meeting and then they don't relay the information correctly. They're not familiar with the process. So the Auditor General, based on what the Central Bank governor is saying, they are still waiting for her to send correspondence indicating that I am coming to meet with you to review this, or if not, I am sending my Deputy Auditor General, or I will send whoever, or assistant or whatever. That has not happened. So It's two transactions. The check that the $2.6 billion error that took place in the central bank clearinghouse with respect to that VAT refund check, and then some $760 or $780 million worth of VAT refunds and income tax refunds that would have been issued in the previous fiscal year and would have been presented in fiscal 2023. And as the minister would have explained, it's a net back process that they use. So tax in, tax out. So we take in X amount of money in terms of VAT, we take in X amount of money in terms of income tax, and then when we minus what we paid out in income tax refunds from what it is we take in, the difference is what will be attributed to income. The minister has explained that. But you see, you all hug up this stupid talk about money missing and money thief and wouldn't take the time to understand, to go and listen in the parliament or do your research. At no point in time has any of the main speakers on UNC platform has ever accused Coleman Butts or Keith Rowley of stealing any money. You know what Munilal accused them of? Cooking the books. Munilal claimed that far from what the fully done saying, that money thief and money missing, he is saying that the government cooked the books. In other words, that they inflated the revenue figure. They stated they made more revenue than they did so that the deficit would not be as high. That is what Munilal is saying. So the government said we made 64 billion. The Auditor General said, well, based on what I see here, you only make 61. The government is saying, no, we made 64. She insists, no, I telling you it's only 61 you make. So the next 3 billion is imaginary. That's a figment of Coleman Butts' imagination. It didn't happen. He never made that money. That is what basically the Auditor General is saying. And Mr. Imbert is saying because of these two errors that account for the $3.3 billion, once you fix that, then you could account accordingly. So there was no money missing, which is what the Auditor General was supposed to do. But she has not denied either of these two transactions and continues now to double down and claiming that she was denied access to go to the central bank and check to see if the issue with the check was really true or not. Miss Asna, come now, you will make better sense than that. Ah, boy. God should probably have to argue for your party. Come with sense. Let me just take this last one here. I think this is, let me get this here. Hello, good morning. Hello?
Hey, morning, brother.
Morning, sir.
Glad to be the last. You know, these talking heads don't care about that because their content with the narrative has been fed from since February, March, April. Even if you bring the information on a flash drive and you had a slot in the back of your head and plug it into them, they would still be this and say it's lies. But I was satisfied from the initial statement made by the minister that all will be sorted out, and also by the statement yesterday. Mm-hmm. But curious for me, I would want to see if the goodly lady now that she has identified that the deficiency was in her, would she advise the attorneys to withdraw the matter against the state and the minister?
No.
If in good conscience, attorneys would say, listen, based on what has come forward now, we can advise you that it's better we withdraw this matter and not give any judicial time because you may well come out on the end of it. And I'm saying, if that is done, then a professional complaint should be made to the Law Association as ineffective as that may be against our attorney for professional misconduct. Because one of the tenets of the legal profession is that you are to be able, if someone is giving you instructions and it falls up of the professional ethics of the profession, then you are not to take those instructions or you advise that client accordingly, right? And I'm saying that the chamber she hired head by senior counsel, he of all people should know that, right? That when a client is coming to you with faulty instruction, you either tell them, take their business elsewhere for your professional integrity and your good name, and you refuse to take those instructions and to take their engagement. But you see, I like you and like others who subscribe to this platform. We tend to hold people to the same standards we have, unfortunately. So I do expect that up. I do expect that up at all from that side. But it is clear that the ladies initial narrative has been laid bare by what the minister outlined to us. And I hope that the authors of all the various articles supporting her, all the experts and all the journalists and all the people who say that she is the sacrificial lamb, G. Miles and so on. I hope they will be contrite enough to admit wrong and come out and say, yes, we made a mistake. We were misled. Right? And I hope it's not as meek as that uttered by Ms. Dukaran when she was found wanted. But again, I do not expect it. So I want to say to you, brother, thanks. And we have to get on your professional endeavors now. But I want to say thanks for what you shared with us this morning. And this is all part of what we say. We are to be the vanguard of having the correct narrative out there. Because only the correct narrative will see Trinidad and Tobago keep going on the up and up, in spite of the challenges that we currently face. Thank you, my brother, and take care. Safe travels on the black carpet, because it's looking like it will be raining again today.
Yes, thank you. So let me just respond to one comment I'm seeing here on YouTube, right? Jerome Moses. he's still able to comment on you see, because I do operate like Jayanti and Marsha Walker and Anna Roberts and all of these persons who have seen it fit to block either the debunking page or block myself. You say I will tolerate so I can respond. So he says here, jump high or jump low, the $2.6 billion missing. Now when it is, now as I would have read for you the statement from the Minister of Finance, that the central bank has said to the Auditor General, the minister has told you that there was an error on our part with respect to the processing of that check. Come. You don't want to take his word for it? Come. Come and inspect our system and you will see. We will explain it to you. We'll give you the final details as to how this happened. Because the central bank, the minister would have made this disclosure since April. We are now in September. At no point in time over the last 5 months or so has the central bank put out any statement saying that the minister lied, saying that there was no error, because remember, plenty money was spent for this system. So therefore, what the minister is saying would have indicated is it casts a shadow of doubt on the efficacy of the system. That could have happened. Now the minister would have said, before how it was done was manual thing, and now they have a new electronic system, as the case may be. But based on, as I explained to you all earlier, with the minister, when he spoke in the parliament a few months ago, indicating that he would have written to the central bank requesting information on the issuance of the new $100 notes that are due in December. And he wanted to get information as to who is the printer, the issuer, how much it's going to cost the country to print these new notes and so on. And the central bank refused to give him the information. But not only did they refuse to give him the information, they referred him to the section of the Central Bank Act stating that we don't have to tell you nothing. So anybody who wants to come and make the claim that somehow the minister could influence the central bank and tell them to engage in bubble, understand that this is significant. And I don't think it have a single person in central bank who is going to risk their, not just the job, but their freedom. Because to try and cover up something, if there is a theft of that magnitude, to try and cover that up, and if it is that the police have to get involved, and there is any cover up and a wrongdoing, not only are you losing your job, you will lose your freedom as well. You will make a jail. You will find yourself before the courts. So I don't think it have anybody in central bank willing to go through that to protect any Coleman Boat or Dr. Rowley or anybody else for that matter. So when I see people like Jerome Moses talking rubbish, right? Talking nonsense about the $2.6 billion missing. How do you steal $2.6 billion, Jerome Moses? How do you do that? This is not 26 million. This is not 2.6 million. We're talking 2.6 billion, or as Anil like to say, billion. How do you steal $2.6 billion and that go unnoticed? So you're trying to tell me you have nobody in central bank who support the UNC? Nobody working in central bank who have access to that type of information, to send information. So if it is a lie and that didn't happen, could send information to Kamla or to Munilal and say, look, Imwood lie. Or this one lie. Look, we have the evidence here. So nobody in central bank is supporting the UNC. We know they had a man who went up as a candidate And the central bank rules said that if it is that you're an employee of the central bank, you can't run for elections or something like that, because the bank is supposed to be seen as being unbiased, not partial to any particular party. And he took the state to court and he lost. Took the central bank to court and he lost the matter. Right? I think he represented in the local election some seat in the Arima Corporation and he lost. Right? How the hell do you steal $2.6 billion and it is so hidden? Really? Come now, man. Better than that. The UNC was even less than that, and they were exposed on many an occasion. And I keep giving you all examples of the many projects, infrastructure projects that this administration inherited from the People's Partnership, that if they wanted to thief, they could have do that. The Curep interchange that the UNC said would have cost $504 million to construct. And the PNM did it for 221. That's 300 million almost they could have thief if they wanted to do that. The UNC said that it would cost 169 million to renovate President's House. The PNM did it for 89. That is an extra 80 million they could have thief. UNC said it would cost 150 million to complete the Brian Lara Stadium. The PNM did it for 90. You understand? That's 60 million they could have thief. So many opportunities. All they had to do was to say, well, the UNC said that's what it will cost. So we will get our contractor to say, yes, that is what it's going to cost, and do it for less, and then we work out and we thief the rest. They could have done that. And the UNC couldn't come and say, well, hey, our price is too high, because then if that is the cost you all told us, how you could come now and say, you told us it would cost 150, but the PNM do it for 150, and they come in to say too high, so you all were lying then. All of these different projects, the Red House, their budget was 950 million, the PNM did it for 441. That's for $500 million they could have thief, Jerome Moses. So many opportunities they had to thief, and they didn't thief them, but they come now to thief 2.6 billion. When you all sit down and type this, the words I want to use to describe that. You see why we had to call you all fully dunce? That makes no sense. And I'm talking about why Coleman but hasn't sued the Auditor General. What is he going to sue her for? He already has a lawsuit. They already have a matter ongoing in the court. But the fact of the matter is, she didn't make any state. She hasn't claimed that any money was stolen. But she has simply indicated that she hasn't seen the documentation to support the additional revenue. And she's not cooperating to the extent that she should to verify what it is Mr. Imbert has said. So if the central bank the minister has quoted the central bank governor saying, this is what happened. We invited the Auditor General to come so we could show her where the error took place, or whatever the case may be, and explain to her. And she has not complied. She has not indicated who she's sending, if she's going to come herself or if she's going to send the deputy or some other senior official from the department. She has not answered. She has not responded. So that is not for the central bank to keep nagging her. She has to do her job. We have given her the opportunity to come. And if she don't want to take it up, that has nothing to do with them. They're doing their job. But rather than you all hold her accountable for that, but we must understand this thing has now developed in a situation where you have people like Jerome Moses and Winston Bachilo and others like them who have embraced this lie. And again, I keep making the point. Nobody in the UNC hierarchy has accused Coleman Burt, Keith Rowley, or anybody else in the government of stealing 2.6 billion. Their allegation was that the figures were inflated to make the government's revenue position look better than it was, so that the government could say, yes, the economy is booming. We earned 64 billion last year in revenue. And the Auditor General is saying, well, okay, you all stated that, but I am not, you need to show me the documentary evidence. But this error took place. So if it is, I issue a check for $10,000 to somebody, and the person deposited the check to their bank account. And when the check goes to the clearinghouse, somebody in the clearinghouse didn't sleep for 2 nights and put in too many zeros and withdraw $100,000 from my account instead of $10,000 from my account. And obviously, I will have less money, wouldn't I? And this is the situation here. That is what they're saying. So the wrong figure was put through. It was corrected eventually, because it took months for the Ministry of Finance staff, the Board of Inland Revenue staff, Central Bank staff, for everybody to come together to figure out, okay, what was the issue here? What was the problem? Right, we identified that. We issued $700 and something million in refund checks. But you know, sometimes for those of you who get refund checks, you see, you get your income tax refund check, and then there's a letter that comes afterward, the assessment letter telling you, well, this is what and why, and explaining how the amount you get. But many people I know get the letter and they're still waiting for the check. And then when they call BR say, well, yeah, well, we sent out that check since such and such date, you need to go and check the post office. When they go and check the post office say, well, no, it was out of post, so we send it back to the Ministry of Finance, so we send it back to Board of Inland Revenue. You now have to come and wait for them to reissue that check for you to be able to cash it. So they issue it to get it reissued, but you come now in the other financial year. So when that was allocated for in the previous financial year, you bring the check in the other financial year because of that situation, and therefore it affected the revenue position. But it's difficult to explain these things to you all. You know why? Because all you don't want to hear that. All you want to hear a thief. Because the party that you support is a bunch of blasted thieves, and as they say, misery loves company. That after 9 years, there has been no major issue or no major allegation of corruption against this government, as we saw between 2010 to 2015, where every Monday morning a minister being fired for some kind of wrong stand-up. And you all realize that in the absence of that, 2025 ain't looking good for all your party, as the NACTA poll is suggesting. So let me hold on to that. And you all keep repeating this nonsense. And when the Auditor General was supposed to fix that, she's digging her heels now and making foolish excuses that the central bank denied her access. She wasn't able to go into the central bank to confirm the $2.6 billion error. And the central bank is saying something totally different. We didn't deny you access. We told you you could come and see. But there are certain parameters and procedures that must be followed. Either you come yourself or send somebody, but you need to let us know who you're sending. So when the person show up downstairs to say, I'm here to see the central bank governor, who is that? I ain't expecting anybody. What's the person's name? No, I don't know who is that person. They say they're from the Auditor General's office. I don't have any correspondence from the Auditor General with respect to any such person. Okay, I don't know who that is. But if it is the Auditor General, sends a document or an email stating Mr. So-and-so, along with Mrs. So-and-so and Miss So-and-so and Mr. So-and-so will be coming to meet with you. They have a list of names. So when they call upstairs, we have Mr. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so and so-and-so are here. They have a meeting with the governor and his team. Oh, yes, we are expecting them. Send them up. You go, you give them your ID, they check your ID and so forth, then they give you the badge, and you pin it on you, and you jump in the elevator, and then somebody come downstairs and they escort you upstairs, and you go and you meet, and you have your discussion. They take you to where the process takes place, and you could verify. What is so hard about that? She had 4 months to do that. 4 months, but you wait until 2 days before the report's supposed to be laid in the Parliament to come and say that Central Bank denied you access. And Central Bank now is telling us something else. But Jerome Moses wants to tell us, believe what she said. So Imbert lie, the Central Bank governor lie, right? And all is a big cover-up to hide 2.6 billion. And all of these people risking making a jail. Because if the UNC come into power next year and they do an investigation, and in fact, it is untrue what Imbert said, and a theft took place, all these people are going to risk their jobs and their personal freedom to make a jail for the rest of their life, or what? To protect all members? That making any sense to you? It making sense to you because you all operate on the basis of donkey logic. Look, let me go on and do my job and I'm fed up waste time. Hey, folks, thank you all so much for joining me this morning. You know, always a pleasure. I trust that I would have been able to add value to your 3 hours or so this morning, and I will try to continue so to do. Right? So, anybody celebrating birthdays today, have a happy one, an enjoyable one, and God's willing, we will resume on Thursday, same time, same place. Yeah? Share the life, Lord Father.